Good morning and welcome to our Board of Commissioners zoning hearing this February 17th, 2026. I'm pleased that we have the Senior Minister of Burnt Hickory Church of Christ here today, Matt Carver. He will be providing our invocation, and that will be followed by the pledge, which will be brought by Officer Pritchard. For those of you willing and able, please rise for both our invocation and our pledge.
Let's pray. God our Father, we have so much to be thankful for today. We thank you for the blessings and privileges and benefits of our country, our state, and our city. We thank you for the small joys and the simple pleasures that you've already given us this morning. We thank you for sustaining our lungs with your breath. We thank you for your provision in our lives that supplies everything we need. We pray now your blessings upon the proceedings of this board. May your truth and righteousness illuminate their minds and their hearts. Give them wisdom to decide matters that are important for our city, and may a spirit of gentleness and kindness and well-being pervade these meetings. It's through Jesus we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Minister Carver and Officer Pritchard. Our meeting is now called to order, and I'll turn things over to John Peterson, our zoning manager, to walk us through today's agenda.
And thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. We would ask that the applicant please stand and raise their hand to show that they are in attendance. Then we're going to call to see if there's anyone here opposed to that specific case. We would also ask that the opposition please stand and raise their hand so they can be counted for the official record. Then, after recognizing both parties will be asked to come forward to be sworn in. The applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if anyone, will testify second. It's important to note that there's only 10 minutes per side, and there's not a process to reserve your time or to rebut what the previous speaker has said. So please convey all your information to the board within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if there's more than one person who wishes to speak on a case, you may want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to talk about, because each side only gets 10 minutes, and you don't want to cover the same information over and over. After that, the board will start to discuss the case at hand. From the discussion, they may ask one or more speakers to come back to the front for additional comments or questions. After that, the board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the case at hand. There is one case on today's printed agenda, which is asking to be withdrawn without prejudice. Madam Chair and Board, the applicant for other business item number 58 of 2025, Soto Properties LLC, has asked this case be withdrawn without prejudice. So we're going to need a board vote on that one.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Allen.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Are we going to ask if there's anyone here that showed up?
Okay,
for
we
or
can
against?
see if there's anyone here for this. Is there anyone here in the audience for this matter?
Shouldn't be.
Okay. All right. So is there any further discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you. And there are a number of cases on today's printed agenda which have been continued or held, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z27 of 2025, Knight Partners LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission hearing. So Z27 of 2025 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z1 of 2026, Francisco J. Garcia Sanchez. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z1 of 2026 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z2 of 2026, Piedmont Residential LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z2 of 2026 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z4 of 2026, Field Time Athletics LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the April 21st, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z4 of 2026 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z5 of 2026, the Revive Land Group LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the March 17th, 2026 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So Z5 of 2026 will not be heard today. LUP number 2 of 2026, April Murchison. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So LUP 2 of 2026 will not be heard today. SLUP 1 of 2026, Dane Contracting LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the March 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLUP 1 of 2026 will not be heard today. And finally, other business item number 2 of 2026, Adeswa Fadarin. This case was continued by the staff until the March 17th, 2026 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So other business item number 2 of 2026 will not be heard today. Madam Chair and Board, I did get a request for 2 other cases that are on your agenda to be continued today. First one is rezoning case Z2 of 2024, Flournoy Development Group LLC. The applicant needs a little bit more work on that, Madam Chair and Board, so the staff would ask the Board to continue this case until your March 17th, 2026 zoning hearing.
Commissioner Allen.
So moved.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Okay. We'll call the question. The motion carries 5-0. For anyone who's here as a part of that matter, it will not be heard today. So I would just ask that you speak with your commissioner. His assistant, I believe, is here in the audience, and she could speak with you directly. There's a couple of people with their hands up with some inquiry about this matter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next case that has asked for continuance is rezoning case Z6 of 2026, Cauliflower Inc. The applicant does need some more time to work on their plan and their stipulations, Madam Chair and Board. So the staff would ask the Board to continue Z6 of 2026 until your March 17th zoning hearing.
Commissioner Allen.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 5-0. Is there anyone here with respect to Z6 today who thought that this matter would be heard? Okay. All right, John.
Okay, and before we begin the consent agenda, I just have 2 more announcements to make. All the folks in today's live audience, if you have a cell phone, please turn the volume off on your cell phones. When the phones ring, it does interfere to broadcast and presentations. And I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing. Any information submitted after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. And with that, Madam Chair and Board, I'm ready to start the consent agenda. Cobb County Board of Commissioners, zoning hearing consent agenda for February 17th, 2026. First case on consent is rezone case Z3 of 2026, Forrest Boss. request a rezoning from GC to LI for a metal fabrication and repair business in land lots 371 and 422 of the 17th district. The property is located on the southwest side of Atlanta Road and on the north side of Ledford Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan received by the zoning division on December 4, 2025, shall be followed, and a striped code-compliant parking area and landscape buffer shall be installed along the western property line where feasible. Number two, landscape plan to be approved by the district commissioner after review by the county arborist. Number three, fire department comments and recommendations. Number four, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. Number five, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. Number six, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. And number seven, site plan review comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z3? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z7 of 2026, Red Ridge Properties LLC, request rezoning from R30 to R20 for a single-family community in land lots 533 and 548 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Hembry Road, across from Creek Park Drive and Timber Bluff Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, final site plan to be approved by the district commissioner. Number two, final elevations to be approved by the district commissioner. Number three, fire department comments and recommendations. Number four, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. Number five, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. And number six, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z7? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Moving into land use permits on the consent agenda. First one we're going to announce is LUP 3 of 2026, Thiago Santos. Request a temporary land use permit renewal for outdoor photography in land lots 103 and 126 of the 20th district. The property is located on the north side of Old 41 Highway, west of Kimberly Road. Staff recommends approval for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. Number one, final site plan received by the zoning division on December 3rd, 2025. Number two, maximum of 2 employees. Number three, 1 sign up to 6 square feet. Number four, clients by appointment only with a maximum of 3 clients per day. Number five, fire department comments and recommendations. And number six, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 3? Let the record show there's no one opposed. LUP 4 of 2026, Jean Baptiste requests a temporary land use permit to allow more people and vehicles than the code allows in land lot 203 of the 17th district. The property is located on the west side of LaRose Drive, north of Windy Hill Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval for 24 months, subject to the following conditions. One, a total of 4 vehicles on the property such that A, within 30 days, the applicant to clean out the garage so 1 vehicle can be stored in the garage. B, allowance for 3 additional vehicles to be parked outside in the driveway. Number 2, allowance for the additional related adults. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for LUP 4, Jean Baptiste?
I see somebody walking in, John. You want to announce it?
Sir, are you the applicant for LUP 4, Jean Baptiste? Yes.
Okay.
You're here just in
Thank
time.
Yes, God is good.
Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 4? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay.
And moving into other business cases on the consent agenda. First case is other business item number 1 of 2026, which is to consider a reduction of lot size from 30,000 square feet per lot to 24,368 square feet for Roscoe Jackson. The property is located on the south side of Paul Samuel Road in land lot 237 of the 20th district. Staff recommends approval, subject to Cobb DOT comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 1? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 3 of 2026 is to consider a reduction of required public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet, and other variances for Dan Helton. The property is located on the west side of Poplar Springs Road in land lot 153 of the 19th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to 1, fire department comments and recommendations, and number 2, road frontage is reduced to 0 feet with variances as shown on the site plan received January 2nd, 2026. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for other business on number 3, Dan Helton? Is there anyone here opposed? Madam Chair and Board, the applicant is not present and there is no one here in opposition. Would it be the board's wish to leave this on consent or to continue it?
I'll defer to the commissioner.
Can we reach out and see if he's en route?
Sure.
And then bring it back?
So put that one on hold for right
Yes.
now. 3. Okay, next case is other business item number 4 of 2026, which is to consider a reduction of required public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet for Stuart Knapshin. The property is located on the east side of Brownmore Drive in land lot 163 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to 1, Cobb DOT comments and recommendations, and number 2, road frontage is reduced to 0 feet. Is the applicant present? Applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 4? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 5 of 2026 is to consider a reduction of required public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet for Early Education LLC. The property is located at the eastern end of Russell Drive in land lot 120 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to 1, Cobb DOT comments and recommendations. Number 2, road frontage is reduced to 0 feet. Number 3, site plan review comments. And number 4, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business on number 5? All right.
Okay.
Okay, let the record show there's 7 people here opposed. So we'll pull this one off consent and hear it in its regular order, Madam Chair and Board.
Okay.
All right. Other business item number 7 of 2026 is to consider a site plan amendment for Brookstone HOA, Inc. regarding rezoning application Z146 of 1993 in land lot 193 of the 20th District. The property is located at the southeast intersection of McLean Road and Hedgesbrook Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following condition. Number 1, fire department comments and recommendations. Number 2, site plan received January 13th, 2026, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. And number 3, site plan review comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 7? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. And last item on printing consent is other business item number 8 of 2026 is to consider a site plan and stipulation amendment for EVCAT Manager LLC regarding rezoning application Z151 of 1999. The property is located on the north side of Shalford Road in land lot 400 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to Cobb DOT comments and recommendations. Number 2, site plan received January 13th, 2026, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. And number 3, site plan review comments. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 8? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
John, the commissioner has something she'd like to add.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to ask the applicant to provide DOT with a traffic circulation plan. And where's the applicant?
Approaching, the applicant's approaching.
Okay, Mr. Moore. Are you agreeable to that, Mr. Moore? Yes. Your applicant, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, hold on 1 second. John, are you good? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, there is one more case, Madam Chair and Board, that we want to check to see if there's anyone here opposed to it that we may be able to add to consent. Other business item number 9 of 2026 is to consider a stipulation amendment for Town Park Apartments LLC regarding rezoning application Z52 of 2022. Property is located on the east side of Town Park Drive, north of Chastain Road, in land lot 363 of the 16th District. Is the applicant present? Yeah, the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 9? Let the record show there's no one opposed. So I think at this point, Madam Chair, we can add this to consent, subject to
Okay.
staff comments.
Okay, I'd just like to defer to the commissioner to move to add it to consent.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'm opposed.
Okay, you can reflect that in your vote. Do you want to discuss your opposition?
No,
Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, before we vote, do we need John to read in staff comments?
Yeah, the staff did recommend that you approve OB number 9, subject to all staff comments contained in the other business item.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll call the question. The motion carries 4-1 to add it to consent, which is different than a vote of support, and it seems a
Well,
little
yeah.
off.
I mean,
We're voting to
I
add
thought we were
something to
voting
consent,
to
which would,
approve it
yes.
on consent. I'm sorry.
Yes, because consent is an up-down vote, so some. Okay.
Well, but
Okay,
I could
that's fine.
reflect with opposition to OB 9
That is true. Okay,
when we do consent.
okay, that's
So,
fine. That's fair.
I don't have a problem adding it to consent if I need to change that.
It's completely up to you, Commissioner.
I think it's
Okay.
fine. I mean, the motion passed as is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioners, are there any other matters to add to consent? Okay, with that, Commissioners, I move that we approve the consent agenda as it has been revised, reflecting that this does not include approval of other business item 3, nor other business item 5, which we will hear later. Hopefully, with respect to other business item 3, we'll hear from that applicant later today. Also will reflect that we are adding other business 9 to the consent agenda. That's not on the consent agenda. For Z6, do you have Z6 being continued?
We continued that case.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't note that. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. So we have Z6 being continued. Are there any other modifications to consent?
Did you say that 05 was being pulled? Yeah.
I did. Okay, any other comments? All right, so motion and a second. We'll go ahead and, I just want to make sure, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all right.
And
Any
discussion.
further discussion?
Yeah, and I'm
Commissioner
opposed to
Brawl, if you want to
OB
speak
9.
to,
Just opposed to OB 9.
okay, so that's noted. Yes, we'll call the question.
It's a mix.
The motion carries 5-0. I just saw some persons walking in. Just want to make sure that the persons walking in are not associated with other business item 3 for Dan Helton. Okay. With that, we have approved the following matters on consent. This includes Z3, Forest Boss, Z7, Red Ridge Properties, LUP 3, Thiago Santos, LUP 4, John Baptiste, other business item 1 for Roscoe Jackson, other business item 4 for Stuart Napshin, other business item 7 for Brookstone HOA, other business 8, FCAT Manager, and also other business 9, which is Town Park Apartments. If you are here for any one of those matters, we have voted affirmatively for them, and you are free to leave at this time, unless you would like to stay and watch the rest of the zoning hearing. You're certainly free to do that as well. But if not, I'll go ahead and allow a few minutes for the audience to clear before we continue with the rest of our agenda. As they are clearing, I note that there was one matter that was on our consent. That was other business item number 5, Early Education LLC. We encourage for anyone here who's in opposition to speak with the applicant. You're free to do that in the hall to see if there's some consideration for adding that back to consent. As the other business items come later in our agenda, you're free to do so. I just ask that you do so outside in the hall. And if the applicant can just let them know who you are in case anybody would like to meet with you. Okay? I do see one person approaching. You're welcome. All right, thank you. Did you want to add something?
Oh, no, I was just gonna make sure that, okay.
Okay. Ryan. Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw open raising, but I think they're chocolate chips.
She's behind Terry Martin. Okay, well, she's here.
So where you moving, Debbie? You can live with Rob Hozak? He lives up there, one of those.
All right, John, you can help us walk through the rest of the agenda for today.
Okay, first case we're going to hear on today's agenda is LUP 49 of 2025. Darius Endhar request a temporary land use permit to allow more people and vehicles than the code allows in land lot 156 of the 16th district. The property is located on the northeast side of Highland Terrace, west of Canton Road. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for LUP 49, Darius Endhar? Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 49? Madam Chair and Board, the applicant is not present, and they weren't present at your December hearing either, I believe.
Okay, so I'll defer to the commissioner.
And also Planning Commission, they were no show for that and twice with us as well.
Okay.
So, staff has recommended denial and also Planning Commission. So I would like to recommend or make a motion that we deny this. It is a result of code enforcement violation. And if anyone has any questions, your Lisa's here to address that. And I would ask that they have 30 days to come into compliance.
Okay. So that's a motion that's standing for denial with 30 days for compliance.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 5-0. You're welcome. John, before we get to this next matter, note again that we were waiting for somebody to reach out to Dan Helton with other business item 3. Is somebody doing that?
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
All right, thank you.
No answer? So we'll
We
wait.
can continue. Okay.
Okay. Next case we're going to hear today is LUP 1 of 2026. Jonathan A. Elmer and Sarah Elmer request a temporary land use permit to allow dog breeding in land lots 300 of the 20th district. The property is located at the western terminus of Lost Valley Lane, west of Old Mountain Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LUP 1? Please raise your hands. Okay, let the record show there's currently 11 people here opposed with 2 more on their way. Is there anyone here in support of LUP 1 besides the applicant? Okay, let the record show there's none. Would the applicant and any opposition please come forward to be sworn in?
if I may, my wife is also, she just arrived. Can she be sworn in as well?
Certainly.
We had to wait on the babysitter, sorry.
Life happens. It's all good. Aw. All right, you may
Oh, okay.
proceed whenever you're ready. Just make sure you state your name at the top of your presentation.
All right, my name is Jonathan Elmer.
I'm Sarah, excuse me.
We're here, we've applied for a land use permit for our property at 4998 Lost Valley Lane to breed dogs.
Okay?
Which one is it? I'm
I
sorry.
think it's this side,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So we, forgive me. So our dog breeding business, we're requesting a permit for 24 months. This is something that we have embarked on with our family and our children. We have 9 kids that we homeschool. And this is something that we just do entirely in our house. We breed miniature poodles, like you can see here. We also have King Charles Cavaliers and Havanese. All our dogs are small companion dogs. They're considered non-sporting breeds by the AKC. They're purebred AKC dogs. And they're all miniature in size. The average size is about 10 or 11 pounds. We have no employees, no signage, no traffic, no customers, no deliveries, none of that. There's no outdoor storage, kennels, dog houses, accessory structures. Again, it takes place entirely inside our home, other than the dogs exercising in the yard. This is a picture of our property. Our property is 4 acres. It's currently zoned R30. We have a large fenced backyard that encompasses about 1 acre. The fence is set back from all of the property lines by about 80 feet. The church, we are right next to Burnt Hickory Baptist Church. That fence is only about 40 feet from that property line. We did not always have a fence. We built that fence, I think, about 4 months ago. For a long time, we were under the impression that we had a homeowners association. We found out after we hired an attorney that we did not, in fact, have a homeowners association, but for many months they had prevented us from building a fence by denying approval, even though there was no homeowners association. But after we discovered that there wasn't one, we built the fence to ensure that our dogs didn't get out or
Cause any
have any
problems.
issues.
Yeah.
All our dogs live in our house. Our house is about 10,000 square feet, and so we have plenty of room for our dogs and our family. We also are registered and licensed by the Georgia Department of Agriculture. This is just a Google shot of our property. You can see a rough sketch of the border of the property, and then where our fence is located is the red line in the center. So there's lots of natural vegetation and buffers between where our fence is located and where the edge of our property is. Our neighborhood does have land use covenants. The covenants explicitly state that we can breed dogs. This actually was amended before we moved into the property. Some of the people who are here in opposition either authored this amendment or signed it. But it says, no animals, horses, livestock, or poultry of any kind may be raised, bred, kept, or permitted on any residence, with the exception of dogs, cats, or other usual or common household pets. We know that the county allows for a property our size to have livestock if you have more than 2 acres. We thought that that included dogs. We should have obviously done more research.
That's why we're here today, because we had no idea. We thought dogs were the same as like poultry or livestock or
But our
any of those.
CCNRs didn't permit us to do livestock, but they did permit us to do dogs. So that's how we ended up in this kind of predicament. But we're here today because we want to be in compliance. A little bit about our dogs. Right now we have 18 adult dogs. They're, again, mini poodles, Cavalier King Charles, Spaniels, and Havanese. They have their own space. Again, we're licensed by the Georgia Department of Agriculture, and we follow all their standards for ethical treatment of dogs and things like that. It's very important to us. This is something we do in our home with our children. So we're trying to be very cognizant of what that looks like for them and for us. So, but they have freedom in our home. They sit with us and sleep in our kids' rooms and things like that. As far as the breeding goes, last year we had 8 breeding dogs. We feel like that's a very manageable amount.
And a dog may have 1 litter a year, or if the timing is correct, it's about every 8 months. So you might see 1.5. But it's a very relatively small program, and that's why we're here trying to get in compliance, because we'd like to keep it small.
Yeah, again, they're kept entirely in our home. I know from the last meeting with the Planning Commission that there was some opposition raised about noise, things like that. That's obviously, the breeding aspect is incidental to the fact that we have dogs and our kids have dogs. And so, I just want to emphasize that all the actual breeding is entirely within our house.
I also want to say, we actually only work off of a wait list, so we don't have to really advertise our dogs. Every once in a while, I'll have a puppy that needs to be put in a home but we breed off of a wait list. I hope that makes sense. So people call in and, find us and say, I'd like to reserve a spot in your next litter, so we know we can breed that dog, because there's spots for the puppies. We don't keep them. We're not accruing dogs into perpetuity. Like, that's not what we do.
That's part of being an ethical breeder. You don't breed indiscriminately. All our dogs are purebred, like we said. And there have been many times that we have acquired a dog that did not have the right temperament or the right physical characteristics to be bred, and so we've rehomed those dogs.
Work with.
That's why right now we have 18 dogs, but only 8 of them bred, because not everyone is going to be appropriate. But you don't know that when you purchase an animal. You have to watch them and tend to them until they're a year or 2 old, and then you can consider it. But anyway. Again, I know I've said some of this before, but this is a home occupation we do entirely in our home with our children. All of our dogs are companion dogs. None of them are aggressive or dangerous. The average size is 10 to 12 pounds, and we are licensed by the Georgia Department of Agriculture. We do have a video. Last time some of the opposition played a video that we felt was a little bit exaggerated. So we wanted to show a video that had a decibel reading of how loud the dogs actually are. In addition to that, we never let our dogs out without supervision, right? We always have someone in the yard with the dogs. If the dogs get loud, we bring them in. I know some of the people who have written opposition have said that it can distract from their peaceful enjoyment. And I just wanted to offer an opportunity where if they ever had an event or something like that, and I intended, we've communicated with them in writing, but I just want to emphasize that if ever there's something like that, we would be more than happy to accommodate. We're not trying to cause a problem.
In fact, we frequently host parties up to 50 or 60 people in our home, because our home is so large. We host whole baseball teams. We have people come to our house all the time, and everyone always remarks that it's not a problem. They're actually surprised how it's not a big deal at all. And we also have decorum in our own lives and with our kids, and we keep our dogs quiet. We're happy to take them out in a smaller group or do whatever if anybody just really doesn't want to hear it. But we did want to offer, our neighbor came last time and mentioned that he never hears them. He works from home and he was in support, but he couldn't make it today. So we thought we would just bring a decibel reading so you can see it's just not loud. Even when you crank up the volume, it's not a loud situation.
So that's from our back deck, and anytime
We did try to hide it. Either we let them all out, and it says about 80, is it's about as high as I ever got. That's about the sound of a garbage disposal or a loud hairdryer. So you can see 79 at one point. We just wanted to support the fact that we've never had any noise complaints because it's really not that noisy. You can hear an ambient bark here and there, but it's not obnoxious. We don't just let them out to just cause problems in the neighborhood.
And we don't want to, like,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
us either. We live there too.
We have 9 kids, our kids take naps. I mean, I understand those concerns, and we want to be.
Good neighbors.
We want to be good neighbors. So, you know, I respect the commission and I appreciate your listening to us. And we're willing to, you know, we will do whatever we need to accommodate our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those in opposition, and if there are multiple of you, please be mindful as the time runs to give your other speakers that are with you an opportunity to address the board. There is a timer that is on the podium. To the last second. To the last second.
You can advance it. Thanks. Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. My name's Ray Stukes. I am a 26-year resident of the Valley at Lost Mountain and live next door to the applicant and the proud owner of a peekapoo. So I'm not against dogs. I represent the concerns of 14 households, some of which are uncomfortable speaking in person, so I drew the short straw, but they're on the slide 1. So forgive me for speaking quickly, but there's a lot to unpack here. So despite our attempts to resolve this amicably within the community, this dog breeding business has scaled to a level that is incompatible with our R30 residential character. Rather than address neighborhood concerns, the applicants use legal maneuvers that cost our community over $5,000 in countless hours. This operation serves the applicant's interests but creates negative conditions in the neighborhood. So there's nothing against the business as a whole, but just not in a neighborhood setting. While the applicant holds a license issued by the Georgia Department of Agriculture, the department clearly states that they also need to pursue local licensing. This business has been operating for more than 3 years, but still without a Cobb County or state of Georgia business license. We also question whether Georgia law permits conducting business transactions in public areas like a church parking lot and, as noted on their website, Hartsfield Airport. If you advance, this is a Google image showing the applicant's property, and it denotes X for those that are opposed, A for approved, and N for neutral. So as you can see, there's a wide swath of influence. So Old Mountain Road is on the right. The Valley at Lost Mountain is circled. That's where we live. And Berkshire Woods is on the left. We have someone who will speak to that a little bit later. So if you advance, this is a view from our front entrance. You can see kind of the residential character. And if you walk through the back, if you advance to the next slide, this is a view of Catherine Miner's home, who's also going to speak today. And you can see that there was an old Google picture. This is the minimal tree buffer that you can actually see Catherine's house in the background. So key concerns on the next slide are the neighbors report an inability to enjoy their decks, patios, and pool areas, difficulty hearing television at normal volume inside their homes, and disruption, especially during evenings and weekends. So zoning and covenant provisions are meant to protect homeowners from the types of impacts that will play in the following. So if you play the first video. This first video is just stepping outside on my deck overlooking our pool area. The applicant said there's always someone outside with the dogs. There is someone outside with the dogs. You'll hear them screaming at the end to shut up. But it really doesn't help to control the noise by having someone outside. So that's that one. The next slide, or the next video, if you'll play that one, please. This is from the other side of, this is from Catherine Miner's deck, and she'll zoom in so you can see there really isn't a buffer. You can see the lighting of the Elmer's back porch there. This is obviously at night. Jonathan Elmer is accompanying the dogs. At about the 2-minute mark, he'll step in and try to control the barking. It's a 60-minute video. That's enough of that. It's more of the same. There's also traffic and safety issues. So in the previous map, you saw Old Mountain Road. Traffic has been blocked there. At times, the people will approach the neighbors and say, hey, are these your dogs? The dogs have harassed children exiting school buses or playing outside in the streets or the cul-de-sac, or barking and growling at neighbors while they're simply doing yard work or out collecting the mail. It's just incompatible with the residential character and covenants. So during the February 3rd Planning Commission zoning hearing, Mr. Peterson confirmed breeding is only allowed in light industrial or heavy industrial, it's not permitted in residential districts. Mrs. Elmer stated that she never wanted this to be a commercial business. In the Cobb County Code, zoning classifications are based on use, not on how an applicant characterizes their operation. If there's ongoing breeding and sale of animals for profit, that's a commercial use. Calling it small scale or commercial activity does not change the underlying use. Semantics cannot convert a commercial activity into a residential one. There's also precedent of a prior car repair business started in the applicant's garage in 2019 that was eventually shut down by the county in 2020 and has now moved to a commercial zone. The applicant's website, West Cobb Dogs, in addition to the Good Dogs website, proves this is a high-volume commercial business. Their own records show over 50 past puppies in the current inventory of 17 breeders, 1 retiring, and 11 puppies. The dogs are not permanent pets, requiring the children to remain emotionally detached from animals, destined for rehoming. You can see the HOAs and covenants up there. The applicant's claim on February 3rd that there is no HOA is misleading. While technically unincorporated, our HOA has been an active functioning governing body for 30 years. Their refusal to acknowledge our established community structure is exactly why this commercial business is a threat to our residential character. Their household has voluntarily paid dues and attended meetings, and I'm going to present a financial report of all expenses and deposits, including dues, which I'll provide as evidence afterward. Regarding the covenants, the applicant cited the amendment shown here at the top, but failed to mention the original covenant wording that remained intact. So he mentioned the fact that they're allowed to breed dogs, yes. The previous covenants said that you can, no more than 2 of each type of dog or each type of pet can be kept on any lot at any time. And for other animals, the use of any lot for the commercial use of raising animals or livestock of any type is prohibited. So a household pet can have a litter. However, no household shall permanently maintain more than 2 dogs, and they can't sell them. A 2-dog maximum has governed our community for 30 years. That standard is part of the character and expectations of this R30 neighborhood. On the next slide is just, I know this is an eye test, but 2 things to point out, and I'll present this as part of the public record, is that the applicant thanked our HOA president, who he nominated, as the arbiter of the covenants. However, the included email chain reveals that as soon as the interpretation of the amendments didn't favor their business interests, they abandoned that arbitration. So the board can't enforce neighborhood covenants, but I bring this up to point out that if the applicants observed the covenants in local zoning laws by not breeding for commercial use, accepted the arbitration of the HOA president, it's 6 houses, you walk 3 doors down, by observing the 2-dog limit per lot, we would not have to be here today. So our covenants were drafted to reinforce existing zoning, not to undermine it. The applicant indicated the covenants grant him authority to have a commercial breeding business. On the contrary, they state the use of any lot for the commercial use of raising animals or livestock of any type is prohibited. So we're not asking this to be scaled down. We're asking this to be stopped, and there be no commercial operation at all. So thank you, and I'll provide some other time for others.
Thank you, sir.
I believe
If there are-
Catherine needs to be sworn in, sorry.
Okay.
And I have some evidence to present. I don't know how to do that.
Okay, you have 2 minutes on the clock. I would just ask, if you are here to speak, ma'am, you need to be sworn in by this gentleman here, if you have not been already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Catherine Miner. I live directly behind the Elmers. I have lived in the neighborhood for 18 years. I purchased my house because of the tranquil nature of the community I live in. I live in the back of a cul-de-sac behind a church with absolutely no possibility of building behind me. And this is our forever home. And 3 years ago, just the disturbance that, just the ruckus, and it's just not tranquil anymore. I am a local small business owner. I work 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and I think it's extremely unreasonable to expect me to go and knock on my neighbor's door to tell him I want to sit in my backyard in peace and quiet. I just think that this is not the place for this kind of a business. I'm a small business owner. I'm for capitalism, but not in a neighborhood. A neighborhood is for tranquility and peace, and that's not what we have now. I lay in my bed at night, and at 9:30 every night I hear the dogs, because I go to bed early. But anyway, I just think it's unreasonable to have a dog business in a neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anyone that would like to speak, there's a balance of 30 seconds on the clock. Okay, not seeing any, we'll go ahead and close that portion of the hearing, and I'll turn things over to the district commissioner.
If I can have the applicants approach, please. I just have some questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Per your previous testimony, you have breeding dogs on your property since 2022, correct?
Well, we acquired the dogs in 2022, but we didn't actually start breeding until 2024.
Have you bred any dogs in the last 2 weeks?
I don't know. You mean have a litter?
We have a litter in our house right now, yes. But it was born
But
5
no,
weeks ago.
yeah, but
So
we
you
haven't
have
been-
not had a male at your house to breed a female in the last 2 weeks? Because I know the male, according to the Department of Ag, has to be kept separate.
Oh,
So you have not had a male dog at your house in the last 2 weeks,
no,
correct?
we do have male dogs at our house.
Yes.
And have those male dogs interacted with the females in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, we have one dog that is able to get pregnant right now, actually last week, so yes.
And that's only one dog?
Yeah, and that's it for us for the spring. We won't have any dogs in heat after her.
And if this dog is carrying a litter, how long until she will deliver? How many days?
A dog is pregnant for 9 weeks, and then you keep the puppies for 8 weeks until they go to a home.
And do you have any current litters?
Yes.
How many litters?
4.
Okay, I heard 2 and 4.
We have 4 litters.
She's the chief breeding officer.
Yeah. We have 4 right now.
4 litters that are currently born.
Yes.
And of the 4 litters, what are the age of the puppies?
One set of puppies is 5 weeks and a few days, maybe 6 weeks almost. One is 5 weeks this weekend. One is 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I think almost 3 weeks on Saturday. And one is also 3 weeks and a few days on Saturday. Our females had a discussion and decided they wanted to do it together, so they did.
So are any of your females currently expecting a litter?
Yes.
How many of those?
I did not write that down, and I don't know. Maybe 3? We'll have about 8 or 9 litters in the spring, and then we will not have any in the fall at all. Or, I mean, till possibly the end of the year. So basically, any dogs that we're having will be born and go home by June, and then we will not have any puppies or breeding at all for a while.
It just so happened that they all were at the same time.
Yeah, they just had a chat and decided they wanted to go together.
Well, that conflicts with, because you just possibly bred another female, and she will have her
By
puppies, but
June.
they'll still be at your home.
No,
before the
they
end
would
of
go home
June.
by June. I did look into all this because we are going to be gone most of the summer traveling. My son goes to Cooperstown. We have another baseball tournament, so
Okay, we need to talk about the case here.
Yes,
so
ma'am. No,
thank you.
I'm just letting you know they would all go home by, I think, second week of June.
So you currently have 3 females expecting litters. Correct?
I do not know. I
Okay,
don't want
that's
to
what
lie to
you
you.
just said.
I don't want to lie to you. I would really have to think.
Okay.
And I do not want to lie to you.
So how many dogs do you currently have at your home?
We have 18 dogs. 3 are males. 1 is going to go to a family. She's been adopted, but she's still with us right now. So then technically we would just have 17. Of the 14 dogs that can breed, I do not know how many are pregnant right now. I just explained to you, there's 3 due, and then the one, whatever, that's 4. And then I have 4 that have just had litters, and that almost gets me to the full total. But I just don't want to lie, and I don't have it written down.
Okay. So you waited until 2024 to contact the Georgia Department of Ag to request a pet license. So
That was-
again, you waited
Oh,
almost 2 years.
yes, because we only had 1 litter in 2023.
We've been discovering, we didn't embark on this like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah,
We
we're
honestly
literally,
did not.
we both have jobs.
We started with, our daughter prayed and asked us for a dog, and we got her a dog, and that's how we got started. It wasn't a preordained, like, we had this business plan. We don't have that.
Yeah.
We just kind of stumbled into it. So we've been discovering things as we've gone along. Obviously, it would have been a lot easier if we had the foresight to look into things like zoning or whatever beforehand. We didn't.
We're just
We are
very-
aware
Okay,
now, we know
need-
now we
okay,
need.
sir, I hate to
Sorry.
interrupt you, but this is testimony, and
Oh, I'm so
that-
sorry.
that time has closed. So if we can just
Yes, ma'am.
stick to the questions that I'm asking. Thank you. You have asserted you have no customers. However, your website shows that in addition to puppies, you were selling various pet supplies. So how many customers were coming to your home for those pet supplies, and how often?
We don't sell pet supplies from our home. We took a screenshot of the back end of our website on our photo reel if you want to see it, but it just says that, but it basically was just an online, these are ideas of what kind of food your dog eats or what crate they might be in or a collar you could buy, but we weren't making any money off that. It just was easier than me sending a document to someone over and over, like, here, it was 11 things. Here's a list of 11 things you might consider, because your dog, when you give someone a dog, they do have to eat the same food that they ate when they were at my house or they'll get sick. And so that's all it was. It was just like, here's the little treats we give them, here's the food we give them. I wasn't making any money off that.
We've never sold any pet
Yeah,
products.
there's no pet products.
So how are the puppies sold by you transferred, if not from your home?
We usually deliver them.
And then, have you ever applied for a Cobb County business license for your breeding business?
We have not. It didn't come to my attention until this process began, and when I inquired, they said that we had to resolve zoning first.
And then, is your business registered with the Georgia Department of Revenue?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, you can stay, because a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
us have a
Sorry.
number
I'm
of
sorry.
questions.
Oh, no.
I know there were a lot of
Sorry.
very direct questions.
It's kinda
I'm gonna go-
nerve-wracking.
It is. Zoning is a very stressful day for everybody, even us.
I apologize.
So we'll all just,
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
there were very specific questions just asked. This is all very new to me, and we've had a number of cases that have come before us with respect to breeding, but there are just some general questions I would like to ask, if you don't mind, if I just ask them high level, and then I'm going to defer to commissioners to ask their questions.
Okay.
Okay. How many dogs do you have that are yours versus how many are litters that are for sale? How many are just your dogs that you keep? Pets, yes.
Right
thank you,
now?
Commissioner, yes.
Well, I
Period.
think they're all our pets. I mean, we love them. Our kids are involved and we are too, but I would say definitively 17. Even when we did that and it said 18, I had already planned on retiring out our dog Louisa. And so she's found a home, but she's still at our house, but she'll go, in the next few weeks. But yeah, so I would say 17, I think.
You have 17 pets. When I consider having a pet, I don't consider a pet for sale. I consider this as a pet I keep.
Oh, okay.
So if you can help me understand the number of pets that you plan to, or that you have kept prior.
I would say we probably have 2. My
Two,
daughter's
okay.
dog Scout and my
Okay.
dog Dansby are our pets. They're very trained. They go with us. They're the
Okay.
first 2 dogs we ever had, and they'll probably always stay with us.
And those dogs are male and female? I see. And so the business, did it grow from them breeding?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And from the dogs that are bred, a number of them may stay in the home and a number of them may be sold.
Most of them will probably retire. People really, we've found,
I think she's asking if they have a litter, would they be sold or would they stay?
oh, no, we don't keep any of our, is that what you were asking? We don't keep any puppies.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even breed unless I know that there's, the first time I've ever bred not having a current wait list was 2 weeks ago. I had a puppy litter that I've been waiting to have for a few years, and that is not completely full. I never took a wait list for that dog. That's the first time, but other than that, we've always worked from a wait list. We interview people, talk to them, find out if it's a good fit and all that sort of thing, and then agree to let our dog breed. And then we also work with Good Dog Veterinarian, and Dr. Singletary he's from UGA, so he has a lot of breeding background. So before we ever started this, I talked to him about what kind of dogs we might choose or how we might go about it. And they've been so supportive to help us become even more ethical breeders. We have a mentor that is the Westminster miniature poodle breeder, and he is fantastic. He lives in South Carolina. We're good friends. And so he's helped me learn how to breed for standard and structure and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what we're moving towards. But we'd like to keep it like small and personalized, and that's really what we're trying to do. We do breed 3 different types, which is how we got that number, because we have 3 different types of dogs.
Okay, so you have 2 pets, but you might introduce another pet or another animal to breed your 2 pets.
Could you rephrase it? I'm not
Yes,
exactly sure.
so you said you breed 3 different types of dogs. So I'm just trying to understand
Oh,
how much
sure.
is this, I'm trying to understand how much of this is commercial versus how much of this is just, these are my personal pets.
That we just let have a litter.
They-
That makes sense.
They do their thing,
Yeah.
and we share the love with others.
I think we're conflating timelines because it started as just 2 pets.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once we had a litter and we saw the impact it had on our kids and the opportunity there, that's when we thought, well, we could add additional dogs and we could do this as a business in our home involving our kids. They get an opportunity to engage with the animals and so forth. So after that, we acquired additional dogs. We currently have 18 adult dogs. She said we are going to retire 1.
And we don't have any plans
Of
to add
3
any
different
other.
breeds.
Yeah.
That is a level that we've been at for maybe a year or so. And we're comfortable at that level in terms of managing it in our home. And obviously, we've become more aware that the impact is different than we expected.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Sure.
I'll defer to any other commissioner. Okay.
Yeah, this is very confusing. To piggyback on the chairwoman's questions first, and then I have some others. When you say you breed and the litters, the puppies that are from the litters are what you sell?
Yes, ma'am.
So the adult dogs that are breeding, of the 17 adult dogs that are breeding, they stay and continue to have litters, or
Yes.
are there?
Yeah, and it's kind of case by case. You evaluate as you go with a female. is she a good dog to breed? Is she not? You're looking for all kinds of different, we have like a 12 bullet point rubric that we use to evaluate that sort of thing and decide. And then sometimes you realize like this dog would do really well in a smaller home setting or with a family. They don't play well with others or whatever. And so you do retire them to a home with someone that would like an older dog. They want to skip the puppy phase. They don't want that. They want a dog that's been with children, that's good with, you know, a home. And so that's where we found a lot of, you know, thumbs up from people. They've been really supportive about the types of animals that have come out of our home because they're so acclimated to home life. They're ready to go into a home because they've been in our home. So that's kind of how we do it.
So you could sell the adult dogs too?
Sort of.
Right.
I don't know how that works financially, but
It's not really. It's for a loss because then we also pay to get the dog spayed so that they don't have any litters after that. So the only dogs that we've retired so far, we've taken a loss on. We just do that because that's the ethical thing to do.
Okay, so, with your state license from the Department of Agriculture, which regulates breeders, I believe you're allowed, just a regular homeowner would be allowed 2 litters per year without, as, with your license, not as a commercial business. Is that, Debbie, do you, I know we asked Steve Hammond about that, but he's not here, is he?
He is not here, and I think he did say it was 2 litters a year. The state reg, the Department of Agriculture regulations.
I'm not sure about that. Do you mean to have a Department of Agricultural license, you can only have 2 litters a year?
I think it's a state law that anyone, just a single couple or
Without a license.
homeowner
Without a license, I think you're allowed
in
to
your
have 1.
house could have 2 litters a year by law,
I thought it was 1, but yes, if it's 2,
or
then,
one.
yeah.
That's what I'm asking, I don't know.
That's why we didn't apply for a license in 2023, because we just had 1 litter of puppies. That's it, the whole year, so.
Okay, but that's regulated by the State Department of Agriculture.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do have a license from them?
Yes,
state
they came to our
license.
house.
Okay, but you don't have a business license from Cobb County? And
We had
that's
to
why you're
solve the
here.
zoning issue
That's why
first.
you're here
We're-
today,
Yes, ma'am.
to
Yes, ma'am, we're waiting.
get a land use permit for the business.
Correct.
Well, that's all the questions I have, but I think, I do think that the number of dogs and the number of litters that you're doing is too intense for a residential area. And it's not permitted by Cobb County Code, but I know that's why you're here today, to ask for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Sheffield?
Just have a couple of questions regarding the outdoor schedule for the dog. And
Sure.
on the aerial view, there's a fair amount of trees, but obviously
It's
sound
winter,
travel. Right,
yeah.
but sound travels. You mentioned that the dogs are not allowed to be outdoors between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. So can you share with us what the outdoor schedule is?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different in the wintertime. You know, they go out after dark in the wintertime, and that's tends to be, you know, they bark at more things in the dark, obviously. So we try to limit the amount of time that they're outside in the evening. It was my understanding, and maybe I could be corrected, that Cobb County does have a noise ordinance between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., which is why we never bring them out during those hours.
Ever.
But we do try to not leave them indoors for too long over the evening hours because they have to go to the bathroom. So we try to take them out in the evening or between 9 and 10 p.m.
They usually go out in the mornings at 7:30.
7:30 or 8.
We go out for about an hour in the mornings, have our coffee, walk around, pick up dog poop. Our kids come out with us. We just are kind of living. We start school at 9 o'clock, so they go in at 9 o'clock and take a nap. And then around 10:30, we take a break from school. We take the dogs out again. I let them jump on the trampoline, swing, whatever. Then we go back inside. The kids, not the dogs. The kids, they play with the dogs, we hang out, and then they go in for lunch. We have a tutor that comes to our house 3 days a week to help support homeschooling, so he's there Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so it's usually sometimes just me alone or if I'm working.
Okay. And all 18 dogs in the yard at once, or you kind of?
Right now, we do that, but we are really open to not doing that if that is causing consternation. It would be super easy for us to do very small, limited group. They're just really not that. We're there all the time, is what I mean.
Okay. You also shared that with the retired dogs that you do not have a plan to replace them, and your SLUP is for a 2-year period.
Correct.
So can you walk us through what that 2-year looks like? And are you saying at the end of the 2 years, you would only have your family pets?
Well, we haven't, that's a bridge we haven't yet crossed. If that's the recommendation of the board, obviously we would respect that.
Right.
Our intention was to do this as a vocation with our children. Our oldest children are 14 and 13. We have twins that are 13. We have a 14-year-old. As they get to be driving age and maybe start taking their own jobs, it's quite likely that we would reduce at least the amount of activity that we're doing. Right now, while they can't go anywhere and they really need something to put their hands to be frank, is why we've embarked on this to begin with.
I think it'd be, this year alone, we'll go down to 15. And I think that's very manageable. Like I said, we have other jobs and we do. The word commercial keeps getting thrown out. I looked it up. I think it's 30+ litters a year to be a commercial pet dealer is what I saw on the, I could be wrong and someone can correct me, but I think I saw 30. We won't even touch 30. That's not even something we'll do. That's why we keep saying we're not a commercial. We don't breed indiscriminately. We're not just handing out puppies in parking lots. That's not what we're doing. And so that's why I keep using that language. I think 15 or less, we have just slightly over 15, but 2 are leaving this year. That will take us right to 15. That has always felt appropriate to me. We have 11 people that live in our family. We try to, kind of reflect that to people. Like, it doesn't feel over the top because we are a very big family in a gigantic house. It never seems overwhelming.
Yeah, we want to engage each of them. So to do that effectively, if we only had 3 dogs, then many of them would be disengaged.
Yeah, we have a friend that's a breeder in Cobb County, and he has 2 acres, and he was approved for 15. He also breeds a small breed. And we felt like that was very doable. I mean, he said, I know some people flinch when I say I have 15 dogs at my property. He's like, but as a breeder, you do he's like, I understand where you guys are at. You do have to vet and this and that and the other. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of how we got to this number. But we aren't trying to we're fine with regulation on that, truly.
Are there any more questions for the applicant directly? Okay, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may want to sit close in case we do have any additional questions. Thank you.
Just to answer Commissioner Sheffield's question, per the Department of Ag, under pet dealer license, essentially you have to have a pet dealer's license if you sell more than 1 litter in any 12-month period or over 30 adult dogs. So it's not necessarily the litter, but the adult dogs is the 30 number.
Okay.
Just for clarification, so the Department of Ag does not regulate how many litters they can have a year. I thought you had asked a question. Okay, I'm sorry, but the Department of Ag, they have complete control over the licensing for the pet dealership, but that is their guidelines. It's not 30 litters, it's 30 adult dogs. So you can have an unlimited number of litters. Okay. Does anybody want to hear from code enforcement? This was a result of code enforcement. I don't know if anybody has any questions for code enforcement.
Well, I have a question on what you just said. I thought the Department of Agriculture, that's for a commercial license.
No, that is for pet dealer license. And if you look at their license scheduled, if their license, their fee to obtain your license is based on the revenue you are expected to generate.
Mm-hmm.
The Elmers have a license that is valued at $400, which means they are expecting to make more than $15,000 of revenue a year from the sale of the puppies. So the Department of Ag doesn't do a license based on number of puppies, it's strictly revenue-based.
If I may, you can be a pet breeder, but a pet dealer license is required whenever you sell more than one litter of puppies. So there's a distinction. If you just breed your dog, that's fine. But once you sell more than, or once you are breeding for more than one litter a year, a Department of Agriculture requires a pet dealer license.
And the number of litters is unlimited?
It does not, I've been scanning through the rules and regs, and
No,
I
it
don't
isn't,
see
or it
that.
is? That's crazy.
And following up with you and talking about rules and reg, it seems like we are mired in a number of layers of policy from the state, looking at our code, and then looking at civil code when it comes to HOA covenants. And, you know, there's some back and forth with respect to whether or not there's a HOA, if there isn't a HOA, what the HOA allows, what a HOA doesn't allow. And that is mired in a civil space unless we have particularly put some type of condition for the HOA.
Correct. As to the, we as a board, well, not we as a board, you all
yes,
as a board,
yes.
cannot enforce the HOA regulations. We would be making this decision based on our code and based on state law.
Okay, so then, go ahead if you, I have more legal questions. Okay. So I have a question about our code when it comes to animals and our restrictions on, or our allowances when it comes to pets. Is there a code section that we can refer to see the number of dogs that can be allowed on a property?
I am not aware, I mean, again, I've been kind of glancing through this, and I don't see that the number of dogs is, there's no limitation in our code.
Okay.
It would be as to whether or not the number of dogs is creating a nuisance situation.
Yeah, and this is my concern about this matter, to be honest, is even if there was not a commercial or sale element, are we restricted in regulating the number of pets which are creating the nuisance element of noise? If the owner is allowed to have a number of pets, I'm questioning what our role is here. And then when it comes to state law, I'm not knowledgeable of state law when it comes to regulating this space to be able to share that things should go one way or another. I am very concerned about the neighbors' concerns about the incompatibility with the expectations of quiet enjoyment with living in a single-family community. But we have two conflicting codes or there's two conflicting thoughts, because the quiet enjoyment element of residential community is even beyond local government law. That's just an inherent aspect of living in a residential community. But there's also the deregulation that we have of number of pets that can impede quiet enjoyment. And I don't know, do we have the ability to reach in and say, property owner, limit the number of pets that you have to preserve quiet enjoyment? Is that our space, or is that a space for a civil action? Or is that a civil action that should be taken outside of zoning?
Well, can I ask it a different way? Because I share some of the same concerns, and it almost feels that it's improper to create policy from the dais based on one situation. I think that's where I'm conflicted, because I do understand the noise, but this should be a noise ordinance situation. But we focused on the dogs and the business. To me, the business seems to be in proper order outside of having a Cobb County business license, which they're trying to acquire once they get this settled. And we focused on the business, more so than what I think would be more of a proper order of what we're really discussing, which is a noise ordinance, which I'm not even sure, and this is my question to you, Debbie. I'd written down, why would a LUP even be needed in this situation if we're not stretching an ordinance or something else from the county?
I will let John respond as to why a LUP is needed, and then I will interject.
Okay, and the board has codified that a person can ask for a temporary land use permit. And, you know, in a nutshell, what a temporary land use permit does, it allows you to do something that's not permitted by right in a zoning district. Breeding of animals is only permitted in LI or HI. So if the board approves this LUP, it's going to allow them to breed animals in a district that does not allow that use.
So that is our current code.
Correct.
Is for dog breeding.
It's supposed to be in light industrial or heavy industrial.
Okay, so that's what I wanted. Okay.
And, you know, Lisa can speak to this, but the noise ordinance, the owners of dogs can be cited if a dog is barking for 15 consecutive minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Yolisa Fossen, Cobb County Code Enforcement.
Right.
Code enforcement does not enforce the noise ordinance. The noise ordinance is enforced by police, but
Right.
under animal control, if the dog is barking for 15 minutes or more, they could contact animal control. And also, I did contact animal control last week, and there is no ordinance on how many pets you have, as long as they're taken care of.
Right. You can have as many dogs or cats as you want in your home as pets. But that's pets, not
breeding.
really a business breeding. But yeah, and then as the applicant mentioned, the noise ordinance is measured. We now have the decibel meters that measure the noise when it gets over 70 or 75, which is allowed. And the noise ordinance does apply between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. in Cobb.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Cobb noise ordinance.
But
So-
just for, oh, I'm sorry. But just for clarification for noise, because we're trying to look at it from two different angles of noise. For one, we have the decibel of the noise, right? And based on the video, that came below or within, you know, what's allowed. But then there's the consistent barking, which is a different type of noise. So I'm just trying to figure out, although on the one hand, they may meet the requirement for how loud it is, but then you're dealing with the consistency of it. And I guess that goes back to if they're barking more than, was it 15 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you would need to call police.
Animal control.
Animal
Code
control.
enforcement doesn't have authority to address the noise, how loud it is, or the barking dog. The only thing that we're allowed to address is that they're breeding dogs at the property, and the dogs are considered the clients at the property. And that's not allowed. Under customary home occupation, you cannot have clients at the property, and you can't have a business at the property, which also goes along with their website of selling breeding and also the supplies and everything.
Okay, thanks.
And Commissioner Sheffield, just to piggyback off the DBA reading that the applicant played, you could only hear one or two dogs barking at that time. We don't have a DBA reading when potentially all of the dogs are barking, like we heard in the opposition's testimony. And while we've all received the link, I have not listened to the full 60 minutes to know the duration of the barking. So that is an unknown to that.
So my struggle is if the applicant decided or was told today that they could no longer breed these 18 dogs, the 18 dogs are still going to be there and in the yard, which means that the noise is the focus to me. Because you can easily say, you can't run a breeding business, but we can't force them to get rid of their 18 dogs. And so as pets.
That's not true.
Well,
As pets.
As pets, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If there was no more breeding, if breeding stopped today, they still have 18 pets, and that's why I'm struggling with,
I would say there could be a condition if it's denied of how the pets that were intended for sale through breeding would be dispositioned. I think that would be a reasonable.
the puppies, but what I'm saying is the 18 adult dogs, we can't impose a restriction that says we're gonna deny it. This is what I want clear, if we say we deny it, we can't say, but you've gotta get rid of 12 of your dogs.
Okay.
We can't do that. There's no ordinance that restricts the number, and that's what I'm asking you, Debbie.
Let's defer.
I am not aware that we have a code section that limits the number of pets.
Which is my concern, that we're still gonna have the noise.
Yes.
And that's, so I'm just, this is a very technical,
It is.
it's a very technical.
Absolutely.
That can be enforced by the police. The noise ordinance
No,
can
no,
be
I-
enforced.
I agree. But that's not gonna come before us. That's a civil matter at that.
Well, yeah, they'd have to call.
They would call the police, and the police would cite them for violation of the noise ordinance. That does not bring them before the commission.
Commissioner
No.
Gamble, did you want to weigh in?
Unfortunately, you are correct. This is a civil issue. And we had testimony from the HOA through the email sent. You know, they tried to reach an agreement with the applicant as to the number of dogs that was more than what their covenants were going to allow. Again, that is a separate issue that we cannot address. So, you know, to me, it's an unfortunate situation that this hadn't been worked out between the homeowners, because this is really, really where it belongs. But as John says, we do have to make a decision on the land use permit, because breeding is not allowed in residential areas. So yes, there are many issues that are conflated in this, but I know two of my fellow board members will remember 2019, when we were here till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because the county attempted to put forth a code amendment to limit the number of animals a household could have. And at that time, it was brought to our attention that was something we could not regulate, because pets are considered property which is protected under the Constitution. So again, this goes back to being a civil matter between the homeowners, and we as a board just have to make the decision as to the breeding business
Yep.
in the residential neighborhood. So this to me is an unfortunate situation, and I wish that the neighbors would have been able to work together to come to a solution, but unfortunately, that's being left to us now.
Thank you. Thank you for providing that clarity as to why we are here. I think this conversation was important for us to have, just because there were so many layers involved. We had to sift through what we are truly looking at, but as the commissioner clarified, this is about us looking specifically to whether or not breeding can be allowed. And those other matters that the community shared with us, there's one avenue to address the noise with Cobb Police directly from this point forward. And then I perceive that the other matters with, I shouldn't be providing legal advice, but as we shared, there was a perception among us that some other matters would need to be addressed in another venue. So with that, I'm free to turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. So with that, I'd like to put forth my motion. As we have been discussing, Georgia law does not regulate the number of pets, in this case dogs, a person can own on their property, whether for personal use or breeding. The Georgia Department of Agriculture regulates the licensing of dog dealers, and one of the first items noted on their website as to how to apply for a license is, quote, "Before you apply for a license, make sure that you are complying with your local ordinances. A state license does not absolve you from that compliance." The applicant is in compliance with the Georgia Department of Ag for the sale of puppies, but they have not acquired the required licensing from Cobb County. The land use permit before this board today requires us to evaluate this request, to which staff has recommended denial. We have heard testimony from residents within the community opposing the request due to the health, safety, and nuisance imposed upon them. While the board does not enforce private covenants, there was testimony that the HOA had attempted to work with the applicant to come to an agreeable number of dogs. And if a mutual agreement had been reached, there is a good chance that this application would not be before us today. While the applicant has a right by law to have these animals, they are also bound by law to not interfere with a person's use or enjoyment of their property or an act that endangers the life, health, or comfort of the public. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to deny LUP 1 of 2026. The applicant shall cease breeding and sale of pet merchandise effective upon approval of this motion. All puppies and dogs that are used for breeding purposes only have until June 10th of 2026 to be removed from the property.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
I don't know if this is totally appropriate. I just want to, for the record, we've talked a lot about the HOA, but this is, and it even said on the slide, an unincorporated HOA, and it's not listed with the Secretary of State's website. So I think, giving the guidance to work with an HOA that's not what I can see as a legitimate HOA. There are also no covenants that are disclosed at closing that I could find. So I want to make sure that we're not empowering from this dais that an unincorporated HOA has jurisdiction over residents.
I received that.
I don't think,
Work with the neighbors.
well,
To
I
work
don't,
with the neighbors,
but my motion didn't require them to work with the neighbors.
No.
I was just saying, as part of my comments, I feel this was very unfortunate. And again, this board doesn't consider covenants. They've all been paying HOA dues. So again, that's,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that we should not give credibility to an unincorporated HOA from this dais that's my only point. I want to
but
make sure
even
that's
if they're
clear.
an unincorporated.
Just want to make sure
HOA
that's clear. It's not a debate. So
Okay.
I'm not arguing. I agree with you.
Okay, because even if they're not an HOA, we had members from the community that said they were opposed to the applicant.
So say neighbors.
Yeah,
Say
yeah,
work with the
that's all we're
neighbors.
saying.
Yeah.
Because we can't enforce covenants
Covenant
anyway.
Right, and again, we can't enforce them to work with their neighbors, so hence my motion is just strictly to deny it. And then, as we heard from testimony from Yolissa, essentially the dogs are considered clients, which are not allowed, therefore they have to be removed by the 10th of.
Dogs are considered kind of.
Remember when Yolissa got up to give testimony, she said that the dogs that are used for breeding are essentially considered clients. And in customary home businesses, you're not allowed to have clients come to your home. So in this case, the dogs, the 17 breeding dogs, right, or 14, because I know the number kind of shifted a little bit there, but the dogs used for breeding that are considered to be the clients, and maybe I'll ask legal if I need to be more clear in my motion.
I don't
Those would
think
have
we
to be
need to
removed.
name it. I mean, the way I heard your motion was that you said to remove the dogs that are used for breeding only. And I don't
Correct.
think we need to define them as clients or otherwise.
Correct.
If we're removing the dogs used for breeding, are they not the pets of the owners?
And that is where this gets tricky, because I listened to the testimony that was given in front of the Planning Commission, and then also today, that number kind of slides, because they gave testimony that it started with 2 dogs, and the 2 dogs were Scout and Dansby in 2022.
Okay.
Again, I don't think we can make a motion to say they can only keep Scout and Dansby, since those were the 2 original pets that started the business. But then they gave testimony that said they had a total of 18 dogs. 3 of them are males. So to me, those are breeding dogs, so those are part of the client as per here. 1 is being adopted out, so that leaves 14 dogs that are being used for breeding potentially per their testimony.
Okay, so perhaps I'd have to go back to the motion that's being stated. It is not my desire for them to remove their pets. Even if their pets were used for this operation of breeding, my concern is with respect to the impact that the breeding is having on the community. And I'm concerned too about even regulating the breeding, knowing that we've had cases before us where it's been in support. I think it's not just the act of it, it's the intensity of it. But we're being told we can't regulate the intensity with some respect. But to have a number of dogs on a property, if they're your dogs and we can't regulate it, I don't know what is for me to say other than I do not appreciate them being a nuisance for the neighbors, as much as I would not appreciate it being a nuisance to me in my neighborhood. But I don't know if the motion that is before us is getting to something I feel comfortable with yet, because I'm still trying to unpack it. What I'm trying to share is I don't necessarily want for them to get rid of their own pets.
And my motion did not require them to get rid of their pets. Because the motion is 2-part.
Okay.
1, they can no longer breed at their residence, right? Because according to our code, you can only do a breeding business in light and heavy industrial. Now, if they choose to go to a light and heavy industrial area and choose to do their breeding business there, through the proper licensing, they can do so. But at their residence, my motion pretty much says, you cannot breed your dogs. I was very disappointed to hear testimony that they bred within the last 2 weeks, knowing what motion the Planning Commission had made.
Understood.
So I was very disappointed in that.
Understood, but they're a citizen recommending body. They're not dispositive, so I hear you.
I know, but again, you know, the word ethic and we want to be compliant, we want to work with you, that to me says we don't, right? It just, it rubbed me wrong. It rubbed me wrong.
I can understand that.
So
in
my
a
motion
sense.
is 2-part. 1, they can no longer breed dogs at that property.
Okay. You
They
said
have to-
2-part. That's 1 part. What's
That's
the
1
other?
part. And then we know through testimony, they've got 4 current letters. And then they have 3 others that are expecting, plus potentially the one that was just bred in the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we had testimony that they would be born and essentially out of the house by June. So that is where my motion
see.
said, no more breeding, but come June 10th, the puppies need to be gone. And any of the dogs that are used specifically for breeding
Okay.
have to be removed as well.
So the puppies that were that were the result of breeding for sale need to be gone by June. That I can support. This is what I'm having challenges with is the first part. No breeding versus having a breeding business. Because if I have a male and a female, they're going to do what they're going to do. And from what I heard, and this is why this is so layered and complicated for me, but the Department of Agriculture, as you were stating, says you can have 1. So saying no breeding, but the state law saying you can breed 1 makes me feel as if what we could what we could try to impose today could be in violation of state law, for one. So it's not necessarily no breeding. What we're looking for is not having a breeding business.
But are we, I'm challenging you back,
Okay,
because they have a pet dealer license.
okay.
If a family just breeds and has one litter, they don't have to have a pet dealer license.
That's not what your motion.
So,
Okay.
well, but the motion is based on this situation because the applicant has a pet dealer license,
Okay,
okay? He was breeding out of his home,
okay,
which is the subject parcel for the LUP, right?
okay.
So I'm not taking his dog breeder or dog dealer license away.
Okay,
So he can still deal dogs, right, which is the result of breeding.
okay.
But if he wants to sell these dogs, he will need to breed them from an LI location.
If that's clear to others, more clear, because I'm
If,
hearing.
if I could maybe restate, so the issue before the board is whether or not this activity is allowed in a single family. Our code says that you can be a dog breeder in LI and HI. They are not in LI or HI. So the issue before the board is, can they get a LUP to allow for their dog breeding activity to be allowed in a single-family district as a customary home business?
Okay, when we've had similar issues like this brought before us, we have sometimes granted it, but we have limited the number of dogs associated with it. You can have no more than X dogs. And we did that as a condition of the permit.
For breeding?
Okay, I see you nodding, John. So that is something that can be done. That could be another consideration. We can allow this land use permit only up to X number of dogs and then let the other issues play out in another court, or excuse me, in another venue.
But to me, that's more difficult than for the neighbors to then have to defend in a civil matter, because we've got testimony on the nuisance. So if we essentially approve that they can have the 18 dogs they currently have, the nuisance continues. And essentially what we're saying to the neighbors is, we're going to allow the business to continue,
Yes.
even though we know it's causing a nuisance and the
Okay.
business isn't allowed in a residential area.
And I think what I'm sharing is, I'm trying to limit the intensity of the nuisance, of a possible nuisance. Because if the number of pets is much significantly lower than what is there today, we can still give them the permit, but we can regulate that activity more versus just denying it.
But the permit is for breeding.
And then, yes.
And that's the business that is not allowed that we're trying to remove. The number of pets and number of dogs is unlimited by our ordinance. But,
Yes.
so, I agree with Commissioner Gamble that the LUP needs to be denied for the breeding business that is being done at this home in a residential area. And then for the noise ordinance and anything else regulating the noise or nuisance, the homeowners are the neighbors are gonna have to call the police when there's 15 minutes of consecutive barking or after the noise ordinance or the decibel level, it exceeds the decibel level.
I perceive that as a path forward. I am just considering the number of other land use permits that we have approved in other similar circumstances, except for the intensity of this operation. So this is not the first time it's come before us. In fact, that's why we have land use permits, because somebody is deviating from the code. And so we do provide a path forward for them to have consideration for that deviation. But what we do is when we do permit that deviance, we condition it so that we limit the impairment to those in the surrounding community. What we know is that, and we're emphasizing noise. I don't want to take away from the number of other issues that the residents have had. They've had concerns around safety of the dogs being in the community, the dogs approaching other kids. So there are other elements of concern beyond just noise, that even if we have the police, well, animal control can enforce loose dogs as well, but they have greater concerns. And so I'm not disagreeing. What I'm trying to do is reconcile this with other instances in the past, because I know we've permitted it.
But for breeding, because I know we've denied boarding in a residential area because of neighbors complaining, and boarding isn't allowed. This isn't a customary home occupation. It's only allowed in LI and HI. So the breeding, I mean, I'm not aware of breeding dogs that we have approved, LUPs that we have approved in residential areas.
We did approve one. It
I'm
was-
asking Debbie and John.
The board did approve one, I think, in 2024, where it was breeding. I think it was on Shady Side Driver Road in South Cobb. And that one has been approved several times as a renewal. The difference with that one is there's been no neighbor complaints on that one. Right. He had all his neighbors sign off on it. They were okay with it.
Okay.
That one had no complaints.
Okay, thank you, John, for differentiating that. Okay, that helps.
Was that your district?
12 maybe.
I know I dealt with
your-
that when I was a district
Yeah, that was in
commissioner.
district.
I just want to, a couple of things. Different. I think are concerns. One is, to what the chairwoman is saying, to just completely shutting down a family business without some type of conversation. We've allowed a lot of businesses to operate in areas where our zoning code says they shouldn't, which is when we give these LUPs and we make these accommodations. Also, once again, if we make a decision today to not allow for breeding of dogs, they still have 18 dogs that they can say are now family. They are tied to their children. They want to keep all 18 of these dogs as their pets, and there's nothing we can do.
That is true.
And number two, dogs are going to do what dogs do.
That's true.
Who is going to enforce? Because the issue is that the 18 dogs are out in the yard barking. Who's going to go and find out whether or not the dogs are breeding? And what's the cause of action? There is none. There is no cause of action for family pets having sex and breeding dogs. There isn't. And so once again, I think this is a little bit of an overreach from the dais, because it's not like a normal business. It's not like you're making clothing or this is animals, these are pets, which the Constitution calls property of the owners, and there is nothing we can do. I don't know how we regulate dogs being dogs. If you have a male and a female dog, there may be a litter, and we don't know if it's going to be one, doesn't know if it's going to be two. This takes me to my biggest concern. We have a huge issue right now with overpopulation of animals. You're almost encouraging someone who is doing it in a responsible way to have 18 pets that are now having litters that they can't sell and are going to end up at some shelter or on the street or somewhere else. And so I just think we're taking a sledgehammer to an issue, understanding the nuisance. I fully understand that, but I think we've stepped so far away from the nuisance and the noise. And in this motion, to say that they cannot breed dogs, once again, there's no call. If you have a male and a female dog, there is no way we can regulate or have any cause of action for a litter being born.
But you can, not as pets, but you can deny the business because it's not appropriate.
I'm not saying I'm not saying the business. I'm saying if we shut down the business.
That's what the LUP is for.
I understand. But what I'm saying is, in this motion, it says that they must stop breeding. No breeding is the word was used, no breeding.
Except the one litter a year, which they're
No,
allowed
that's
by
not
state.
what the motion said. The motion says no breeding. And it says that they must get rid of the dogs that were for breeding, which we can't, once this goes through, we can't tell them that that dog is now not a pet. If it's not breeding, it can now become a pet. And so I'm just struggling with how we even enforce any of this the way it's structured right now. I think Debbie was more concise that, it is a denial of a LUP for a commercial business in a residential area.
That's
Full
what
stop.
we're
Everything
doing.
else is not up to us at that point. It's a civil matter.
Debbie?
It's, the motion is before the board. I mean, it's a decision of the board.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for that reminder.
Okay.
Great way of getting out of it.
Commissioner.
So the challenge is a couple of things. It's the breeding coupled with it being a business. Now, based on your motion, if you restrict, which I understand the nuances behind that, but if you restrict breeding and breeding occurs, then the question becomes, what are they doing with the litter if not for purposes of commercial or for profit? So I don't know if the restriction, it may be enough if we're not allowing the business, because if you're not allowing the business, there may not be a motivation necessarily to breed. Because then what do you do in that instance? You have no clients, let's just say for argument's sake, there is no one to pass it on to. So the motivation may diminish a bit. With the motion, you mentioned that there should be, the breeding dog should be gone by June 10th. I understand your point. You can say, well, okay, well, now these are all my family pets. But again, if we're diminishing the business, then you have 18 family pets that are 18 family pets without the benefit of the commercial business. So I don't know if with the motion you want to limit it to just the family pets and not say that breeding is not allowed, because we can't monitor that. But with the restriction, again, if it's restricted, then there's a diminish of the business, and then what happens to the pets at that point?
So, again, this is something we cannot regulate, but I'm willing to add this to my motion if I need to. But this is all regulated by the Department of Ag. When they made their application, and I did do an open records request, I have their original application from 2024. They stated they had one male, and the male was kept off-site. The Department of Ag requires that, so you don't have accidental breeding.
Okay.
We had testimony today that they now have 3 males on site, which to me, in reading the Department of Ag regulations, and again, we all have the ability to interpret language differently, but to me, they are essentially in violation of the Department of Ag because they have those 3 males on site, but in their application, they said they keep them at a guardianship home. So to me, that's another issue, because now we have a conflict with what has been reported to one agency and testimony that was given to us today. And again, only the Department of Ag can regulate that aspect of it. So I would gladly add to my motion that I would compile a letter to send to the Department of Ag to bring to their attention some of the things that we've been dealing with here today, and have you review that letter before it's sent, just to address some of these things. Because again, in my reading of their application, they pretty much said the male dogs were kept off-site. Yet today we had testimony that they're kept
That's not true.
in the home.
That's inaccurate, because Department of Ag 40-13-13-3, .03, separation is to prevent accidental breeding. says must not be housed in the same primary enclosure, except for the specific purpose of intentional breeding. It does not require them to be off-site or in a different dwelling. So just clarity on that, and that's directly from, like I said, 40-13-13.3.
Code section.
And just to follow up, what is the date of the application?
So, and I can give this to the clerk for the record. So they, their first, I don't have their original application they made to the state, but the state first tried to inspect them on 6/17 of 2024. They then came back on 9/12 of 2024 to re-inspect, and then they finally did an inspection on 9/16 of 2024. In that inspection on 9/16, they had the companion animals, number of animals, 8. So they only reported that they had 8 animals to the state at that time in 2024. Then, hold on. Down in the notes, it says there is one guardianship home used by the owner. The guardianship home is next door for the mail. So again, that is what they.
That's not required.
Well, it might not be required, but that is what they told the state they were doing, which goes back to the question of, can you breed a family pet, right? They're essentially telling the state that in order to keep them separated, they're keeping them in separate homes. Yet we had testimony today that they're in the same home.
My only, even in taking all of that as fact, what we don't know is if conditions can change under a former application, and if a new application needs to be made whenever there is a change, and what the state considers a material change to have them have a new application.
Correct.
Because to me, if this is an application for breeding, they would expect for some of those numbers to change. Now, whether or not the conditions of where a male is changes or where a female changes, I don't know that. And this is what, again, makes me think that this is a complex matter. This is what I can share here today. I know I'm willing to support either allowing the business and reducing the number of dogs, or not allowing it and having a reasonable plan for dispositioning dogs that were bred for business purposes, however that is stated. I'm willing to go either way on it, because I agree with Commissioner Allen. The only way you can really have more of an impact on his operation is to permit it, because then the board has a hand on it. But I also appreciate Commissioner Sheffel's observation of the diminished motivation for the activity if they don't have the business. And that's, it's conjecture of what will happen. But there is some truth. If somebody's doing something for business purposes and they can't have the business, then there's less motivation to keep up with those businesses. So whichever way you've crafted your motion, I'm a little bit lost as to what was initially stated, but I can support either one of those things as long as they are not having to remove the animals that are considered pets, but understanding the very real risk that Commissioner Allen has stated, that they may now be a household of 9 children and 18 pets and 2 parents.
But at least, I agree, but at least we would eliminate the breeding aspect.
I hear you.
Because either way it goes, whether,
business.
I'm sorry, yeah, the business.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go, the business aspect,
business.
not the breeding.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay, so I'm willing to amend my motion.
Can you state it, as you
Sure.
amended, can you state the
Sure.
full motion? Thank you.
Okay, I've got it in my head, but let me see if I can, okay. You ready? All right. So again, I'm going to make a motion to deny LUP 1 of 2026. The applicant shall cease all breeding and sale of pet merchandise effective upon approval of this motion. The 3 male dogs, if they are not, what was it? Scout or Dansby. See, and this is where, this.
I can't, this is too.
Well, Sue, what I'm, okay. All right, scratch the motion, we're going back to discussion.
Because then
Sue, what I'm trying to do is, again, if you remove the males, sorry, Eric.
Been trying to do that for a while.
If you remove the males, the opportunity for breeding is non-existent. Now, and again, the board cannot require spay or neutering, but we also know, we also know responsible pet owners spay and neuter their pets so we don't have unwanted breeding. So again, here we're in a very deep subject that is outside of this LUP. But if it's about ceasing the business, I would be willing to put a date on the males being removed from the home that are used, as code enforcement said, as a client to further.
Commissioner Gamble, we can't do that.
Mike,
What we need to do today is deny the LUP because it is not appropriate, it is not in a residential area, it is not approved in a residential area. It is only allowed in LI and HI, which this is not. And however they dismantle their business is by removing dogs or not breeding or having pets is beyond our control. But I am supportive of denying this LUP. It is not allowed in a residential area. And I mean, your R30, very low density residential, it's not allowed. So the LUP, if they can have the license they have from the state and do what that allows, but they don't have the local ordinance allowed or local business license that is allowed. So that is my support for denying this LUP. Then on the noise and the number of dogs, we can't control the number of pets that they have. If they agree that they're not going to breed, but they want to keep 10 dogs, 20 dogs, it doesn't matter. They can have as many as they want until we have an ordinance that says you're limited to 5 pets or whatever. So we can't do that. And I feel bad for the neighbors because there's a lot of folks here in opposition, and we've been getting all the emails, but we have to go by the law, folks. So if it's still a nuisance, you're going to have to be vigilant and call the police or call animal control or call code enforcement.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I've, with the motion, sometimes we get ourselves in trouble trying to make too many stipulations and other things. I think this is one where I can support a straight up, just a denial of the LUP, a motion for denial, and that is the only thing
And the
that I would support.
number of days or June 10th to come
For
into
June 10th.
compliance for the
To come into
litters.
compliance,
for
and
the
outside of
litters.
that, there is nothing else that I feel
Okay.
comfortable with.
Can you restate your motion and I'll support that?
Yes, well, I have to, since I told the clerk to scrap my motion. All right, here we go.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to deny LUP 1 of 2026. The applicant shall cease all breeding and sale of pet merchandise effective upon
All breeding.
all sales
Can't limit
of
breeding.
pet merchandise, because
No, all,
That's not, you can regulate that, it's not customary home occupation.
Okay.
Ron?
Pause in my motion. To the county attorney.
Breeding versus mating, is that a difference?
I'm sorry, I was.
It's okay.
Just say breeding.
Okay.
In my motion, can I make a motion to, again, deny the LUP and for all breeding to cease and sale?
That's the same thing, by denying.
Yes, sales of the dogs?
Well, my motion was in sales of pet merchandise because, again, we had testimony that they were selling pet merchandise and they said that they were just, it was a link on their website, but again, from their website, it did appear that they were running a small retail
Okay.
business out of their home.
John's going to respond to that, please.
You know, as far as that, Commissioner Gambrill, you know, them selling merchandise online, it probably is okay as a customary home occupation. If there's no inventory or customers coming, you know, that's typically what we see with customary home occupation. It's something they run from the internet, it's done by computer. They may have stuff they ship out once in a while. So, you know, I would advise you not to put that in your motion.
So could I ask you, Alyssa, to come up for a moment, please?
Excuse me, is it possible for us to take a recess for these deliberation to come forward?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to have us take a 5-minute recess. 10 minutes, 5 minutes to draft? For her to work with staff to.
Well, I just wanted to verify because the new code violation for the customary home violation for the retail pet sales was last week. And so I was wanting to have.
Was there were there receipts, were there, how do we cite them for selling merchandise? Just need clarity.
So during the planning commission hearing, there was testimony in regards to running a business of selling merchandise. And under code enforcement, we issue a notice of violation based on a complaint received, what type of complaint it is for certain things, because there's going to be times where somebody might have clients at the house, but we didn't see them. So we issued a notice to educate them on the ordinance, so that way they know that it's not allowed, and if it's observed in the future, they will be issued a citation.
Okay, and their testimony today was that it's not, because it sounds like they may have said that they are offering these things. I think when I went back and looked at it, it said they're offering, not
Yes.
selling.
What they stated in a PC hearing and here today, they stated that they were having recommendations on their website for clients to know what type of supplies they're using for the animals, to give them an idea if they're needing assistance as to what's the best way to care for their dogs. But, you know, it doesn't line up with what the complaints are saying. So to alleviate the issue, we issued a notice just to educate them so that they know what's expected from the county.
And then also, just so the board knows, before code enforcement issued the violation, they did screen capture from their website this retail business. When I checked the website yesterday, it has been removed.
Okay. Are you still reading your motion, Commissioner?
I didn't know if we're doing a motion, if we're doing a 5-minute break. I'm not quite sure
If you're ready,
what
yes.
we're doing.
If you're ready based on what was shared, I thought you were asking her.
Well,
for-
I was, because there was questioning as I was trying to put forth my motion, if I could restrict the sale of pet merchandise. So that's
Okay.
why I had Yolissa come up.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
That's not allowed anyhow.
If it's an online business.
And again, if it's an online business, it is allowed. It has been removed from their website, so I am not sure where it currently stands, right? All we do know is that there's not a license through Cobb County for the applicant or the name that he runs his business under.
Okay. Commissioner, so far you have a motion to deny LUP 1 to cease all breeding and sale of pet merchandise. That's what I have so far, what you stated.
Correct, and then that is, well, but are you still okay with
Okay.
the sale of pet merchandise, or would you like that portion removed, since we've now had testimony from John and Yulissa that it could be online, which would be allowed?
Would you say selling merchandise online only?
Well, no, I just, I
I-
still
well,
think that's
no,
overreach.
because-
Or just don't, just leave it out?
Can we just deny LUP 1?
And June
June
10th, to
10th,
come into
to come
compliance
into
with the
compliance.
number of puppies sold or litters or whatever you regulate,
But
whenever you're coming into compliance.
a follow-up question regarding the business. We heard online, has there been testimony, whether at the PC or during your research, that customers were actually visiting the home to purchase merchandise? Because that would make a difference if they're visiting the property versus having it online. What has been the observation?
That was the complaint, but we also heard in testimony they like to entertain at their home. So neighbors don't know if they're there for a
Well,
after-season party for baseball
Perhaps.
or if to buy merchandise.
perhaps, but Commissioner Gambrill, are people visiting the home based on your research? Are they visiting the home or are they purchasing it online?
That I cannot answer.
Okay.
Because when, I was preparing to hear this case, I went to their website, saw it, which confirmed what had been given in the testimony. So as far as being able to verify if people come to the home or not, I cannot verify that. And as we heard from Yulissa, when code enforcement was there, they did not see anything. So again, we have to rely on their testimony as well.
Right, and for that, I want to be cautious in restricting it, because if they come back later to secure a business license for an online business, I don't want this stipulation to be a hindrance to that.
Right, and as John said, if they did an online business, that is allowable.
Right, right.
So they wouldn't have to come for a LUP, but.
Right.
But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So I'm willing to take that portion out.
So right now you have to deny LUP 1 and cease all breeding.
Yep.
Okay.
Effective immediately.
Okay.
Because again, we're only talking about the business. We're not talking about personal. We're only talking about business. To cease all breeding, effective immediately upon approval of this motion. And then, this is where we kind of got stuck, was all puppies and dogs that are used for breeding purposes only shall be removed from this location by June 10th of 2026. And that would be my motion. In the reason why I word it like that is it doesn't prevent them from going and finding a location in LI and taking these dogs and conducting their business there. But the motion is strictly for this location to no longer be done, is my interpretation of it. And I guess we could
Okay.
ask the county attorney to verify if I stated that correctly with my intentions.
I understand the motion to read that anything related to breeding is not allowed to be at the location. But, there's an interpretation there, and, unfortunately,
Exactly. Breeding and mating are two different terms. I just had to look that up. So mating is that natural activity. Breeding is not necessarily for commercial purposes. It's having them come together to mate, and yes, that may not be in that conventional natural purpose. So I would just say any puppies or dogs used for commercial breeding purposes.
So you would like me to amend the motion and say all puppies and dogs used for commercial purposes.
Yeah, there you go, commercial purpose. Commercial
Commercial
purpose.
breeding
It
purposes.
doesn't have to be breed, yes, because, right, your dog wants to be a model, I guess that's commercial purposes. So, yes, commercial breeding purposes.
Okay, so to the clerk, only that section, right? That all puppies and dogs used for commercial breeding purposes are to be removed by June 10th of 2026.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yes, because if they have a pet, then they don't use their pet for commercial breeding purposes, and that gets rid of that. So you can still keep the dog, it just, there's that condition on keeping the dog.
And we can't control the number of pets anyway, so
Yes.
that works.
Is the
I'll
clerk clear?
second that again. I'll second. Any,
Okay, is there any further discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Allen in opposition. Ladies, I'm just asking we take a break until 11:25. Thank you.
we only have one more case.
Okay, great, great. I
Ladies and
won't make
gentlemen,
it through it.
ladies and gentlemen.
Are you leaving? Tomorrow I have to stop eating sweets.
All right, welcome back to our zoning hearing this February 17th, 2026. I'm turning things over to John Peterson to help queue up our next matter.
Okay, and Madam Chair and Board, we've tried to get into touch with the applicant for other business number 3, Dan Hilton, and we've not been able to call him or email him. So the staff would ask the Board to continue OB number 3 until your March 17th hearing.
Commissioner Gambrill,
So moved.
Second.
is there any discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 5-0.
All right. Next case we're going to hear is other business item number 5 of 2026, which is to consider a reduction of required public road frontage from 75 feet to 0 feet for Early Education LLC. The property is located at the eastern end of Russell Drive and land lot 120 of the 17th District. The applicant was present, and there were 7 people here opposed. All those who would like to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good morning. Yep, please help in stating your name and letting us know what you're seeking from us today.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Qiu Fang, and I'm here representing Early Education LLC in the case that we are applying for variance to build a small house at a vacant lot adjacent to our current daycare Montessori school.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your application?
I
Or
think
about your school?
Sure. Our school was established back in 1981, and it has a long history of operating. And that daycare adjacent to that vacant lot is our legendary, starting point. And it raised so many generations of kids, and now we have actually grown-up children. They're adults now, and they are bringing their kids back to our school. So it speaks volume. And the school was there before the subdivision in the back was built. And the founders, I think we share the common vision to really preserve this beautiful lot and beautiful site for our younger generations. And I do want to share with you a little bit about the back end story, because during COVID, unfortunately, COVID hit a lot of schools really hard, and daycares included. And in order to, make it work, we had to face a tough choice, either to leave the property vacant or have it just rented to people in needs, like young graduates who have no history of credit and who really need a job and who need a place to stay. So we did our best to, to rent it out. So that actually probably brought some memories to the whole neighborhood. And I think that also addressed some of the concerns they have. But that was a decision between either leaving it vacant or rent it out to people who have needs and who actually volunteered at our school as well. So that was the back end story I want to share with all of you. And I do want to thank every one of you here, because the county has been super, super supportive for us to survive that difficult and tough time, and our neighbors too.
That concludes your presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Stay close in case we have any more questions, and we'll call you back up.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll now hear from opposition. Keep in mind that you have 10 minutes total to speak, as there were a number of you. I believe you'll have to be sworn in if you were not. Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Mark Probst. I live in the subdivision, and I've lived there for 27 years. The reason we decided to move there is because it's zoned as single-family, detached homes, and it's a certain size of home that we chose. The reason we're opposed, well, one of the reasons we're opposed to this is it's going to change a few things. Number one, the size of the house is very small compared to all of ours, so it's going to devalue our property. Number two, that we also oppose to as well, is it's going to bring transient people in, because what they're saying is that they eventually want to make it their own home, but in the beginning, it's not going to be their own home. It's going to be allowed for other students and so forth to live there. That's going to change everything. So we're against the rezoning of that for that reason. So that's the main 2 points, and there's a few others that I want to talk as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ed Richardson. Live at 378 Bridgebrook Lane, and I've been a resident of this community, this neighborhood, for 26 years. One, I know that they had documented 7 people in opposition. We've had people, including my wife, that had to leave to get to work, but we did count 15 in total, so I wanted to at least insert that in the record, which probably represents 10-15% of our neighborhood. As Mark said, there's probably, first I want to acknowledge the applicant and thank her for her work in education. My children, who are grown now, actually did attend that Montessori school, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. But this isn't about the education. It's really 3 things. One, as Mark mentioned, the incompatibility of transient housing with people who are unrelated in our neighborhood. When we bought it and invested, it was with the intent of being in a neighborhood to retain that character of single-family dwellings. 2, to preserve the property values. We've had a house that's probably less than 100, 150 yards from their site. They just sold for $800,000. So these are more higher-end homes, and we believe this small footprint home that she's proposing, again, would not be compatible. And then finally, I will just say, this applicant has had at least 3 properties in that neighborhood, and we have a documented history of neighborhood disturbances, police reports, shootings, overcrowding of vehicles. So it didn't end well for her or for our neighborhood. She sold those 2 other properties, and there's really no guarantee that this last property won't follow in suit. So for those 3 things, we're all in opposition. You know, preserving our values, the incompatibility of the use with the current character, and then the document history of when this applicant had managed other properties in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other speakers? There's a balance of about 7 minutes on the clock.
Thank you all. My name's Al Wussler, and my wife and I own the property on the lot immediately east of the property that's being asked for variance. And in talking to the owner, it's my understanding that what they're really requesting is a reduction of frontage on Bridgebrook Lane. If you look at the county map, it looks like this property is on Bridgebrook Lane. Actually, it's really not. Right on Bridgebrook Lane, there's a fence. Then there's Russell Drive that comes down and ends in a cul-de-sac on this property in question, right next to ours. And then is the rest of the lot, which is undeveloped. And to the extent that a variance is requested to not require any frontage on Bridgebrook Lane, but rather to have it on Russell Drive, that really makes sense. I also appreciate the fact that the owner hopes to build a home and is willing to allow students who are learning to be educators to live there, and internships in the summertime, I assume, or on any other breaks, to get personal experience with younger children. My wife is a retired early childhood educator. And so one of the commissioners said that regardless of what happens in the future, the current zoning would limit that to only 2 other additional adults in the home besides she and her husband. So even though I raised my hand, I was against this. I really didn't have enough information to be against it or for it. I'm not necessarily against it, particularly in terms of changing the frontage off of Bridgebrook Lane and making the lot have a frontage on Russell Drive. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's a balance of about 4.5 minutes left for any additional speakers.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Kevin Now. I'm the owner of 387 Bridgebrook Lane, basically north of that property. We've been living in that house since 2013, and we like the neighborhood to be quiet and with the uniform single family in the zoning area. The main reason that I'm against it is, as what's described in that proposal, that it looks to be turning it into a rental property or with people going in and out. During COVID, specifically in 2023, there was incidents with the tenant that they used to have in other property in that lot. And that caused, I mean, there was police reports and gunshots and stuff. And as she was saying that, you know, they did the same, rented those property to up-and-coming educator or graduate students at that time, but they didn't, those people who lived there, they didn't appear to be educator or younger students. So my main concern is that it's going to turn into a similar incident or some poorly managed rental house or transient people that are going in and out. So that's why I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. For any other speakers, we have 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. And for the applicant, I saw you raise your hand. The only way you'll be able to come back up is if you're requested to answer any clarifying questions of the board. But unfortunately, the time for testimony has run unless the board would like to give her her time back. She did not utilize her full 10 minutes. So would you like for her to have the balance of that time? Let's see. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Almeda Hoover. I'm at 383 Bridgebrook Lane. I've been there since 2020. The question I have is, the property is supposed to be on Bridgebrook Lane, but there is a fence that separates Bridgebrook Lane from Russell Drive. We don't know who owns the fence. It's deteriorated to the point that it's about to fall down. So now, if this fence is no longer here, then we have no separation from Bridgebrook Lane to Russell Drive, which diminishes our neighborhood's quality. I've had several, her previous renters were they were not nice. They harassed the neighborhood people. I walked my dog. I got accosted 2 or 3 times by these people that lived in this house. So I really don't want this to be a rental property with people that I don't know who they are or what they're about.
Thank you, ma'am. There's a balance of 1 minute and 45 seconds if there are any additional speakers in opposition. Okay, not seeing any. I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing. And John would ask for staff's recommendation before we hear from the commissioner.
Madam Chair and Board, the staff would recommend that the board approve the request, subject to Cobb DOT comments and recommendations. The road frontage is reduced to 0, site plan review comments, fire department comments, and we'll add one more in here for single-family use only.
Thank you, John. Now I'll turn things over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. John, I'll start with you in the observation, which was mine as well, on Russell Drive. and Brook Lane. Why wasn't the request for a reduction on Russell?
The request, well, it's because, what the request is to reduce the road frontage down from 75 feet to 0 feet. It doesn't matter which road it's on, because it doesn't touch Russell Drive, and it doesn't touch Bridgebrook Lane. I was just looking at the tax records, and that small 5-foot strip, it's owned by someone else. So I'm not sure.
A 5-foot strip on Russell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure where that person lives. So they don't have frontage on either road frontage.
Okay.
That's why we're going down to 0 feet.
Right, I understand that, but I just wanted to address the observation of the person that testified with it being on Bridgebrook versus Russell. Did I have another question for John before I bring the applicant? If the applicant can approach, please. Oh, I'm sorry, did someone have a question?
I just want to clarify off of your last question. So John, would we permit access to this parcel through Russell Drive or through Bridgebrook?
The access has got to be from Russell Drive, because that's where the road kind of continues naturally. From the testimony, it sounds like there's a fence that blocks the applicant's property to Bridgebrook, plus that property is owned by someone else. So they would need to buy that piece of property.
Okay, but for right now, if this is approved, they would have access through Russell Drive.
Russell Drive only.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rowe also has a question for you, John.
Or DOT. Does Russell Drive dead end at their property? So they would have to do a cut-through or entrance there to get to it?
It's a cul-de-sac.
It's hard to see with the trees, but there's a cul-de-sac in there, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. That's just the shadow of the tree covering the road?
Yes.
Okay, so if they have no road frontage, how are they gonna?
That's what we're here for.
That's the request.
Yes.
Yes, just one
That's
observation as you did call the applicant back up, but if you can zoom in for our staff, thank you. As John shared, somebody else owns that small sliver parcel. I don't know who owns that small sliver parcel, but I'm perceiving that's where the fence of issue may be.
Correct.
That's an assumption of mine.
And tax records says it's owned by Joseph D. Logan, who lives at 3311 Old Concord Road, which
Lives
I think is
3311?
3311 Old Concord Road.
Oh, not even here. Okay. All right, thank you.
Just another question for John, though, as we zoomed in. It looks like there is some of the business that is currently located on the subject parcel. So my question is, how does this change the site plan that was originally approved for the daycare next door? And are they going to have to amend their site plan?
Well, currently, the daycare is grandfathered in as R20, R15, so it's on its own lot. So as long as they continue doing on that daycare lot what they're doing, then they're fine. This lot we're talking about for OB5 is a separate lot that does not have the daycare on it.
So this isn't a lot split then per
No,
se?
it's a separate lot.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you for the patience of our applicant. The district commissioner did ask for you to approach, which I still think you would like
Yes.
for her to do. Thank you if you can join us here at the dais. I know you might be tempted to address prior communication from opposition, but we ask that you limit your communication to responding questions, because this is no longer a time to present generally.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is the early, excuse me, early education an active daycare?
It is. It's licensed and, yeah.
And
We are
it
looking for
currently have-
teachers.
Pardon?
We're looking for teachers.
Okay, so it is active. Describe the house. I heard that it would, well, the testimony indicated that it would be smaller than some of the homes in the adjacent lots. If you can just spend a little time describing the house to us with square footage, number of bedrooms, bath, et cetera.
Sure. And I do want to make sure that we understand this is very early in the whole process. We are not sure because my husband's here. We're approaching empty nester stage, and we want to build a small house ranch, not multiple levels, and easy for us. And that's the whole intention behind this. And also a little bit of personal. My son is in architecture lesson, and he wants to involve this process as well. So.
Can you describe, and I know it's pretty early, and you mentioned smaller, and as I look at some of the lots, like the one immediately to the east, it seems to be a pretty sizable home, and so are some of the others. But do you have an idea of the square footage? Do you have any preliminary architectural plans? Have you spoke with an engineer? You mentioned that your son is involved, but do you have a general idea of the footprint of the home?
I do. I have a wish list on my bucket list. I love small house with beautiful gardens, so that's the only thing I have in my mind, and my husband know that. 2,000 or 3,000, because two of us, how much space do we need? And I love garden, so.
Okay, so you don't really know the square footage at this point, okay.
Not yet, open. And our neighbors, I would love to dig your brain as well to make this beautiful and shoot up our property value.
Okay. Do you have an idea of the number of bedrooms and baths you plan at the property?
I'm thinking 3, because we have 2 kids. They'll be out of the house, and those interns who doesn't have a place to stay will stay with us, so 2 or 3.
Okay, so 2 to 3 bedrooms. All right. And if you could, I'm going to go back to your application request and conversation we had right before we got started. You mentioned that you want to have an opportunity to have interns live at this property. And I described to you that this, obviously, if it's approved, it would be for single-family residential only, with those ordinances that would be imposed. So talk to me a little bit about, or share with the board, a little bit more detail regarding your application, because you have that you'll help with living arrangements for young graduates, college students, early education, et cetera. So it sounds like this is something that you intend to allow over a period of time. I'm not sure what that is, but just talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. And I think this wonderful question. And this question gives me a chance to address some of the issues that are raised by our neighbors.
But hold on one moment.
Yes.
But this is not the opportunity, forgive me, for addressing those challenges. It's just specifically to answer the questions that you're being asked by the board members.
Sure. And living-wise, it's for us to live there in our retirement years. If there are interns who do not have a place to stay, and me and my husband, given who we are, we will accommodate. And that's it. And there's nothing more. Only if those interns need a place to stay and they are so passionate about early education, I will open my door. And 2 or 3 bedrooms, so I can accommodate 2, probably.
Okay. And for the interns, how are you finding them, or how are they finding you?
Right now, it's my friends, and I'm open up to the people in this whole room, our neighbors. I need someone to refer good, honest people who are passionate about early education. So if you have someone, send it to us. Send it to me.
Ma'am.
An intern.
Okay.
The college kids too, How am I finding people?
It's okay.
You know how much we are experiencing a shortage of early education educators.
It's okay. So you're saying there's no shortage, so it sounds like this is something that you're very intentional about and moving forward. So you mentioned that obviously both you and your husband will live there, but it seems to be a long-term plan to also have interns at this property.
I want to emphasize again, if those interns' living arrangement is an obstacle, I would open my home, because that's my retirement commitment.
Okay, so
but if they have somewhere else to stay, they are able to support them, I'm happy. I think my husband would be happier, because he's a very private dude.
Right.
He doesn't want people to live in there.
So then I'm hearing that there is a long-term plan, because I'm not hearing, But I'm not hearing that it's not either.
She said there's a possibility of it. She didn't say it's definite. It's just, she's open to the option of that if needed.
But it can be a long-term plan.
Ma'am, you have to understand, I'm about to retire, and I'm actually
okay.
part of the neighbors too. I want
Okay.
peace and quietness for my retirement years, but I'm a busybody. My husband knows if I don't work, I'm gonna fuss with him. So I'm passionate about early education, and I want to
Okay.
devote my walking years, even with a walking aid years,
I appreciate
to that. So I don't have anything more to say.
Okay. And there was concern, and I'll open it up to my board members, but there was concern regarding rental property that you own. If you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Wonderful. Go back to the COVID time. It was really hard. So we have to make a choice between leaving it empty, which will attract even more cuckoo business I don't even know, versus rent it out to decent people who need a place to stay. And during that process, it was a long process. I'm not, I can't really, don't quote me the numbers, at least 2 years. There's people who don't have, a history and they need a place, like young graduates. But we also run into a really bad case, and that's what the neighbors are referring to. That bad case was unfortunate because I ran it to the female. The female was soft-hearted. She let the previous, I don't even know whether it's the former husband or, ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, let him in, and that's when it went south. And the female has to escape. She texts me 12 a.m. in night saying, hey, Cho, I'm sorry, I have to do this to you. I have to protect myself. So I was left with the aftermath of pushing someone out who is not even a tenant. So that was the story. I won't say any name, but that was actually recorded in the county's court. We have to take that guy to the court, and we have to just tell him, hey, you better grow up and get out of my property. So that's it.
Okay.
That was the whole scenario. And I'm pretty sure the cursing, whatever, is from that 6 feet tall guy.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Not quoting any names.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, where is that property?
That was the corner 3941 property. We unfortunately have to rent to that, female. I still like her. We still keep in touch. And we ended up selling it. So those two I call it the guards. We had to sell those two, so.
And what is that property still a rental property, 3941?
No, that was not. I don't think so, but I know the owner. I have his contact information. He seems to be a decent guy. He wants to be part of the neighborhood as well.
Oh, so you sold it?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yes, otherwise we would live there, but that corner is too wide open. My husband doesn't like it, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So this is currently an R15 lot? It's vacant, but it's
Yes,
R15?
it's zoned R15.
Okay. So the only variance would be the road frontage
Correct.
requirement. Okay, and then when you build this house, you own it. Are you and your husband going to move into it right away, or you're going to rent it first and then eventually retire there?
We're gonna move in because it doesn't make sense to rent because that's tucked behind our daycare. Nobody, no business owner would rent a house tucked so close to where kids stay to anyone cuckoo. So if my son needs a place to stay, he will pay me rent and I'll let him to stay with us when we move in, huh? Yeah.
So you'll be owner occupied when you sell it, but.
We will occupy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have a single-family dwelling code currently. It could change with the UDC, I don't know, or it could change with code amendments. But you're only allowed one outside unrelated adult with the family.
And that's no problem.
So you would only be able to have one intern in addition to you and your husband.
is,
And then if you did not live there and rented it out, which I think is the neighbor's concerns, that it would be a rental, period. What? You would still have only, be able to rent it to two unrelated adults.
so that's a question, right?
Now, I'm telling you what the ordinance is now,
Okay.
and making sure you're aware of that.
Unless
If you,
unless she applies for a land use permit.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
But
we
I'm
are
saying
aware
the
of that.
code now. The code now that you would be allowed is one unrelated with you and your husband.
Understand. And I think the main concern here is nobody will rent it out adjacent to that business to anyone. We intend to retire there, and we hope to be welcomed by that neighborhood as retiree.
So, can I ask a question for John? So John, some of the testimony was around the character of the neighborhood and the house size. And looking, I see the house immediately to the left, to the east, is significant size home, but as you go further east, it looks like even smaller lot sizes. So what are the square footages on the average home? Because I think we're using one of the larger homes as a baseline. As I look at it, it looks like there are also some smaller homes in that subdivision.
And just to kind of interject here, our code specifies the minimum square footage that they have to build. I don't think we should be regulating the size that they have to build. This isn't like it's a complete, subdivision or anything like that, but our code currently regulates for an R15, it would be what, 1,000 or 1,200 square feet minimum, John?
For R15, the minimum house size is 1,150 square feet.
Okay, so
You have to come back with a site plan.
it depends on how Commissioner Sheffield does her motion. But as far as the size of the home, again, with them not knowing what they want to do, our code already regulates what they have to minimally do. And I would be comfortable if we just, again, hold to the R15 code and then whatever additional stipulations Commissioner Sheffield is considering.
I mean, the thought is not to impose, for her to increase the square footage, right? We can't do that, and we shouldn't do that, right? If the code allows her to have a smaller home. Now, there are always factors to consider, and when you look at the size of the other homes, if this one is remarkably smaller than the others, then, that may aesthetically present a problem, but I can't, or I wouldn't feel comfortable imposing a larger square footage if the code allows her to have a minimum.
I agree with both of you. The code allows a minimum standard. There could be other circumstances that allow us to put more conditions on the property. But I think that it's clear that this property is not a part of the other subdivision, that it can be, there are other conditions that can be put on the property, so it's not made to appear as such. This really is, ideally would be fitting with the daycare property. However you choose, that's your business, but my thought is it would be a complement to the daycare site. But what I'm trying to say is you could make it larger if you wanted to, that you're not precluded from doing that.
Are there any other stipulations on this lot from when it was originally zoned?
No.
R15?
No, Commissioner.
Pardon?
No,
Okay. And is it not part of a subdivision?
no, it's not.
Okay, so is the school on the same lot or below it?
It's on a separate lot. It's the lot directly to the left of it, right there.
Okay. Okay, well, so just the general square footage minimum is for R15, so it didn't have any other steps when it was zoned originally that we just used the minimum.
Correct. And I did look real quick trying to address Commissioner Allen's question. The house directly next door to the right, the bigger house, that's about 3,300 square feet. The house directly to the south is about 3,100 square feet. And the house that she just sold at the corner is about 1,800 square feet.
There's a mix there. There's definitely a mix there. Okay, I don't have any other questions for the applicant. Do you all? And I know it was concerned from the neighbors with respect to this property being smaller than smaller than a neighbor's property and it impacting property values. When an appraiser appraises property, they're going to use like properties. So if your home is to the east of this home and it's 3,300 square feet, this subject property, if it's 1,200 square feet, it would not be utilized unless there are concessions and adjustments made. So I wouldn't necessarily say because this is smaller, it's going to automatically bring your property values down. I just wanted to add that.
John had something.
Yeah, John had what?
I thought he was going to say something.
Okay. You guys have anything else? No.
Ma'am, you can have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from you guys? No? Okay. All right, John. All right, John, I'm prepared to make a motion. I make a motion to approve OB 5/2026 with the following conditions: that the site plan and building elevations to be approved by the district commissioner. Let me just look at staff's recommendations. Just to make sure it has everything. Okay. And all staff recommendations not otherwise in conflict.
Okay, is there a second?
Second and discussion.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Will you add to be in compliance with the code and no rental?
Well,
with
you know, the approval.
Unrelated adults?
Well, no, I don't know that I need to. You know, it's approved for single-family residential, and even in the scenario, if she has an intern, it is allowed by code.
And that's what I'm saying.
But I don't.
She's going to live there too.
Yeah, that's fine.
And she is allowed to have one outside.
Right, which
But
may
that would
be,
be in compliance. I would just say that,
well, but
make her aware.
she's aware. I don't need to add any
Okay,
additional
please.
conditions because I think it just complicates matters if it's already in
I
the code.
agree. It's kind of overreach as far as how somebody wants to live in their home. If they're compliant with code, which is
right.
already included as there are
Right.
approved for that zoning use, I feel uncomfortable
Right.
starting to
Well, we-
dictate.
That's why we have so many lots that aren't in compliance. So I'm just saying, and that was one of the main reasons.
Yes,
for-
your microphone is not on, Commissioner. Thank
That was
you.
one of the main reasons for the opposition. Okay, in the character of the neighborhood. I'm just asking if that's not, if you're not
No,
going to put it in there, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know that I need to include that now. If it should happen in the future where it's non-compliance, then that's when it will come before us and we'll make a decision at that time. But in further conversation and even with comments here today, I think I feel confident that the applicant is aware that this is being approved for single-family residential, and I don't want to add any other occupancy restrictions on that if it complies with code.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Burrow in opposition. John, do we have any other matters on our agenda?
One more.
One more? All right, let's go.
Okay, last item on today's agenda is other business item number 6 of 2026, which is to consider a stipulation amendment for Kenneth Sanukan regarding rezoning application Z65 of 2004. The property is located in land lots 221 and 222 of the 17th District, also located on the west side of South Cobb Drive, north of Leader Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 6? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Um,
Sir, if you could state your name, and then you can feel free to move forward with your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
There's
My
a
name is-
timer there if you need it for 10 minutes.
Okay. My name is Kenneth Sunikan, and I'm here representing CB Solutions, the owner of the property on Penn 60 Cobb Drive. I was here 2003, I believe, to ask for rezoning to light retail commercial for that property, and that was granted with a stipulation that I could only run my tax business at that location. And I have since moved from that property, and I was trying to get somebody to rent it, and that stipulation is holding back, prospective applicants from that property. So I'm asking for the stipulations to be taken out so that I can have some tenants, move in there.
Okay, sir, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Again, was there anyone here in opposition to this matter? Okay, not seeing any. John, can you let us know what staff's recommendation is?
Sure. Madam Chair and Board, the staff would recommend that the board approve the request to allow limited retail uses on the property. Number 2, no outdoor storage or displays of merchandise. Number 3, no automotive uses. Number 4, all staff comments contained in the other business item. And number 5, all previous conditions not in conflict to remain in effect.
Thank you, John. I'll turn things over to you, Commissioner.
So are there any questions, first of all? Or can we just, you have questions? I do. Okay, go ahead.
So you're recommending that it stay LRC, but they're asking for CRC?
No, he wants to remove all the conditions on the property, even the ones that relate to the use. When the board zoned this, they approved it for professional office use only because that's what he did. He had a tax service there. Then they came back in other business, and the board allowed a neighborhood grocery store on the property. So right now, he's allowed 2 uses on the property. The staff rec would allow limited retail uses on the property, which has about 3 dozen different small type uses that we think would be appropriate, given this is on South Cobb Drive, and this is a pretty heavily commercial area. So giving him all these small uses would help him lease and keep a tenant in the building.
Okay.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
So John, on the application where it says to remove all stipulations, I just want to make sure on the motion, I'm not in agreement with removing all stipulations. I want to make sure it's narrowly tailored to addressing the issue of allowing LRC uses in full.
Correct. And the way I did my recommendation, it would allow the limited retail uses on the property, in addition to the grocery store and the professional offices, which gives him about 3 or 4 dozen other uses that are small neighborhood type uses.
Okay, so not having that in front of me with what your recommendation, Debbie, is it the motion to approve with staff recommendations?
Correct.
So moved.
And all other stipulations remain?
Yeah, and all other stipulations remain.
Not otherwise in conflict.
There we go, not otherwise in conflict.
Okay.
And then all the other things I added into my proposed motion, which includes no outdoor displays or outdoor storage, no automotive uses, all staff comments in the OB item, and all previous conditions on conflict to remain in effect.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Any other?
My only question for you, Commissioner Allen, is if they change the building, do you want to have oversight as far as architecture?
No.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Was that a proposal? in the proposal?
It wasn't, but I just know that, again, we're going to approve it to an LRC use. Usually, the district commissioners have oversight as to architectural, and that's why I asked the commissioner if he wanted that oversight.
Up to you.
No.
And he said no. He said no. All right, any other further comments or questions? We'll call the question. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, commissioners. I believe that concludes our zoning hearing. Thank you.